The last time y'all saw me, obviously I had a lot to say. You thought I was finished. I wasn't.
All right, let's do this one more time, yeah? My name is Mr. Nostalgia. You may know me as the So Random guy, the Bunked guy, unfortunately not the Ben 10 guy.
Never again.
Recently, I posted a 3.5 hour long video on the Disney XD original series, Kickin' It. Yet somehow, there's a good portion of the series that I didn't cover. An entire half, actually. That's right, if you saw this video, you know that I only spoke about the first 2 seasons of the series. I figured it would be better to split the video up so it doesn't feel like a chore to watch. But what you are about to watch right now is that second half. I'm treating this video like a part 2, so unless you, for whatever reason, don't care about order or sequence, you should probably watch part 1 first, because I'm not going over what the show is or why I chose to cover it again. I'm just not. But for those of you that have already seen part 1, then there's no reason for you to worry about this. You can honestly skip this intro right now. Actually, wait, hold on. I do got a couple other stuff to say. To start the second half of this project off, we are going to talk about season 3 of the series. Now, season 3 introduces and unfortunately takes away a lot of interesting stuff about the show. The characters are written noticeably older, which makes sense considering the age of the actors playing them. For instance, some of the characters have jobs now, and the romance in the season is dialed up to 11. Even Rudy, the one adult in the show, actually matures a bit. A bit. Y'all know the drill. I'm going by production order and not airing order. I'm only highlighting episodes that I personally feel are essential to the series and or that I find interesting. With all that being said, let's just get into it. I don't know. I've never like had to start a video that's technically already been started before. So I have no idea how to write this. I don't know what else to do. Oh, wait, yeah, suppose I could start with
season of Kickin' It launches full throttle with a massive special event that will have you holding on for dear life. Jack uncovers a sinister plot to eliminate the Prince of Hakmakistan when he comes to visit Falafel Phil. Then Jack uses his amazing karate skills to totally knock this guy out, only to find out that he was a super secret spy sent to stop the assault. And Jack's all like, that is so Jack. So now Jack's gotta become a secret agent, break into this super tall building, and save the prince. And Jack's all like, I can do this. You got all that? I don't want to give too much away, but it's got tranquilizer darts, explosions, super high-tech sticky gloves, self-launching grappling hooks, epic battles, and a diseased lemur. Plus, Jack's extreme awesomeness makes him all like, oh, Jack! And this super mega event has its own totally intense name, Kickin' It Spyfall. The new season of Kickin' It starts Monday, April 1st on Disney XD.
Brewer. Jack Brewer.
Season 3 of Kickin' It starts off with one of the series' only big event episodes, Spyfall, an obvious parody of the game plan. Spyfall is an episode that, at least originally, was supposed to set up the entire future of the Kickin' It franchise and is highly regarded to be one of the show's best episodes. It starts off with the Prince of Hakmakistan arriving at Falafel Phil's. The reason why he's there is because the country plans on using the port of Seaford for all of its American trading, and there's going to be a royal reception at the Seaford Tower. Milton would be in attendance because he is president of the Students United Nation Club, whatever that is. Phil welcomes the prince to the restaurant. His name is Prince Uval, and he is played by actor Scotty Dun. Nowadays, you can see him posting on his YouTube channel, where he actually kinda does what I do, though instead of reviewing mediocre kids movies and shows, he reviews actual important stuff, like the Back to the Future animated series. No, seriously, please check out his channel though, for real, show him some love, especially since he actually helped with a certain bit of this video that you guys will definitely see soon. He actually, I just happened to check his channel, and a day ago from when I'm writing this, he released a video about his time on the show, and it was really interesting. there are some fun tidbits of Kickin' It behind the scenes lore that I'm sure you guys will enjoy. So check out his channel. It's right there on the screen. I'll probably throw it in the description as well. Really cool dude. Shout out to my man, Scotty Dun. Anywho, back to the episode. Jack feels disrespected that Prince Uvu offers to pay for the meal he and his friends just shared, since he wanted to use the money that he received from his new job at the dojo. That's right, Jack works at the dojo now. Kinda makes you think how many employees the dojo had before. Jack is also jealous that Prince Uvu starts putting the moves on Kim, who should be his girlfriend now? But I guess not, because Kim seems rather smitten with Buddy. The intro hits, and I gotta say, I felt a bit melancholy. This is the first intro we've had so far that doesn't feature Alex Christian Jones in it. And that final shot with all the characters minus Eddie kinda hurts a bit. Like, it's really over. Man, this is the second time a TV show got me crying over a dude named Eddie. After the intro, Kim uses Jack to get some punch training in. And throughout this whole scene, she's just gushing over how cool she thought the prince was. So maybe they aren't dating? But like, they're aware that they like each other, right? Did I make that up? Oh well. Earlier I mentioned how some characters in this season get jobs. Jack works at the dojo, while Jerry, on the other hand, has apparently started working at a zoo. And part of the new job is keeping a lemur from Madagascar quarantined due to the fact that it might have something called Madagascar madness. I was gonna make a joke about the DreamWorks movie of the same name, but I don't like staying on one topic for too long in these kind of videos. No, instead I like to move it. Move it. I am so incredibly sorry that I put that in the script. Phil walks in and tells the people in the dojo that he has been asked by the prince to present him with the key to the city of Seaford. He also delivers some roses to Kim, sent straight from the prince, along with diamonds. This makes Jack jealous, so he chimes in saying that he actually made Kim a necklace made of rigatoni, and Kim dismisses it, which is kind of mean. Like, it's a thought that counts, right? I mean, yeah, diamonds are cool and all, but who doesn't love pasta? Rudy desperately wants to get into that event, but Phil says that it's impossible because it's invite only. That is, of course, unless Rudy wants to serve as Phil's manservant. And although Rudy denies it at first, he does end up agreeing. Later, while Jack is vacuuming the dojo, he notices a man walking into falafel fields even though it's supposed to be closed. He barges in to see what's going on and immediately gets a tranq dart shot at him. Fortunately, he's able to block it in time and successfully takes out the man. The cops come in due to an alarm getting triggered, and they ask Jack what's going on. I love how it's implied that the cops now have a good relationship with Jack and trust him to handle situations when they're not there. It's almost like everyone knows he's a Seaford superhero or something. It's also a great parallel when you compare it to Jack's relationship with the mall cops earlier in the series, considering this entire show started with Jack breaking mall rules and almost being sent to juvie. The cops pull away the bad man as Jack looks over the man's backpack. He presses a button which activates a message intended for the man.
Good afternoon, Agent 34. The Prince of Hassan is in great danger from this man. He's actually a dangerous hitman. Yesterday, our surveillance team took this photo of him buying a toxic vapor. If this vapor is released tonight at the royal reception, the prince and everyone attending will be eliminated. So yeah, as it turns out, the agent was sent to take down Phil, who apparently is a bad guy. So Jack starts freaking out over the fact that he took down the one agent sent to stop him. The hologram goes on to say that the only way to get into the building the event is being held at is by climbing up the 86th floor and accessing an air vent that'll grant him access to the air duct system. Realizing the situation that he's in, Jack decides that it's up to him to save his friends from his friend, who apparently has been a bad guy this entire time. Jack looks inside the backpack and takes out some gadgets, like a pair of magnetic sticky gloves. So then, in the next shot, with no training whatsoever, we see Jack climbing the highest building in Seaford, presumably like he's Spider-Man.
We'll be right back to the season premiere of Kickin' It on Disney XD. XD needs you. We have a chicken here, and he'll do just about anything on a dare. Stuff like this. Why? Brave? No, they're just not that bright. Your favorite Disney XD stars and pro basketball player Dwight Howard are standing by to dish out dares to the chicken.
Let me dare this chicken.
It's so easy, a chicken could do it. Even set up a special website to make your most daring chicken wishes come true. So log on and get clicking on the chicken. Then watch the feathered fun unfold. Go to DisneyXD.com/I dare you to vote. And now back to the season premiere of Kickin' It on Disney XD.
It becomes increasingly obvious that although this is called Spyfall, which is a parody of Skyfall, this is also a nod to Mission Impossible 4, Ghost Protocol, which is my third favorite Mission Impossible film, according to my letterboxd at least. Jack makes his way up to the building but starts to lose his grip. Of course, Jack starts to lose his grip. That's the only thing he does.
Jerry, I'm losing my grip! Jerry, I'm losing my grip! I'm losing my grip! Jerry! I'm losing my grip!
He catches himself though and realizes that he has a grappling hook, apparently for the first time, even though you'd have to assume that he was the one that put it in his belt thing. He successfully makes his way back up to the building and arrives at the air vent. After a few kicks, he realizes he needs some more momentum, so he runs across the building, takes one giant leap, and does one mega kick through the vent, which might just be Jack's most impressive feat of the series so far. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, Phil prepares to hand Prince Uval the key to the city, but just then, a man who looks exactly like him walks in and takes him out. And I ain't talking to the ball game. He gets knocked out and apparently receives a swirly as well. It's revealed that someone is wearing a very Mission Impossible style mask and plans on taking Phil's place and handing the prince the key, but he swaps the real key for the fake one, which presumably has the toxic vapor inside. Later, Jack makes his entrance coincidentally into the bathroom at the same time that Phil walks out of the stall, and the audience cheers for whatever reason. Jack corners Phil and gives him one chance to tell him what's going on, and Phil explains that a man that was wearing a mask with his face on it shoved him in the stall, though he added a few false details that includes Phil actually getting in some punches. Jack realizes that the fake key has the vapor in it, and the hitman pretended to be him in order to get closer to the prince. So he rushes out of the bathroom to save not only the Prince of Hakmakistan, but all of his friends. Except Jerry, who is currently helping Joan get over a case of mad lemur disease, and Eddie, who apparently doesn't exist anymore. Rudy introduces Phil on stage and Jack immediately catches up with him. Imposter Phil starts to activate the vapor, and Jack kicks it out of his hand, and Kim impressively catches it. Good hands, Kim. So, in a sentence I never thought I'd say in my life, Jack and Falafel Phil start throwing hands, and Jack instructs Kim to throw the key out the window, and that thing explodes. Kim came in clutch, for real. Jack and Imposter Phil start throwing hands with each other, and this really is one of the best fight scenes of the entire show. Dan Adut, and of course whoever is playing a stunt double, is actually keeping up really well with Leo Howard. Jack ultimately ends up flipping him over a table, which I feel like happens a lot in the show, and successfully takes him down. I love how Milton is barely concerned that Jack just absolutely destroyed one of his good friends. From Milton's perspective, it must be so weird seeing Jack just go ape on a simple falafel salesman. He does explain though that it isn't actually Phil, and when fake Phil asks who Jack is, he simply responds with,
Brewer. Jack Brewer.
huh, I guess this episode is back to being a James Bond parody.
I would have gotten away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids.
And now it's a Scooby-Doo parody. Uval thanks Jack for saving his life and asks Kim if she wants to come with him back to Hakmakistan. Kim quickly denies him though and returns the necklace he gave her to him. Uval says his goodbyes and we never see him again. Or do we? Kim tells Jack that despite the fact that every girl loves getting attention from a handsome prince every now and then, she doesn't feel safer around anyone else in the entire world than him. And the episode ends with the two slow dancing to some slow music. Are these two a couple or not, bruh? Spyfall remains to be one of the biggest and most important episodes of the entire series, and I will tell you why now, but I kind of wait until later when I think it's more appropriate. It was a very ambitious way to start out the new season, and the episode itself is probably one of the only genuinely good episodes of season 3. Just being brutally honest here. The fight choreography was top tier, though I will say Jack climbing an 86-story building is pretty ridiculous. But it is a Disney XD show, so whatever. Finding episodes worth talking about in season 3 was really hard. I am trying my best though with this one, guys. It's just, this season is really bad. It's almost like they ran out of ideas after the second season. But yeah, season 3, we're here. And Eddie is not. Spyfall was a great way to start. Time to dive in further with season 3.
Get ready to ride. Disney XD's non-stop summer ramps up. Strap on your helmets for brand new Crash and Bernstein, new Lab Rats, and new Kickin' It.
I gotta go call my mother.
You've seen too much. Well, that was rude.
Learn new tricks.
Sometimes I hear music in my eyes.
Chop into the new show, Pac-Man and the Ghostly Adventures.
My favorite show. Scary.
Power to the pedal.
This is gonna be a breeze.
Non-stop summer starts Monday, June 17th on Disney XD.
Season 3, Episode 2 is called Dueling Dojos, and in this one, Rudy is tasked with finding a home for Sam, a little boy who used to live with a group of monks at a monastery. Sam is played by Rio Mangini, who you might recognize as Ace McFumbles from Bella and the Bulldogs. Fun fact, I'm pretty sure this was like one of the last TV shows that I watched from Nickelodeon, and I actually kind of liked it, even though I was outside of its demographic. I actually, stumbled across the Bella and the Bulldogs Google Plus roleplay community once. I don't know what else to say after that, honestly, but I did in fact stumble across it. Anyway, although Sam on the surface seemed to be a pretty well-mannered kid, he's actually quite the opposite, and immediately starts terrorizing the Wasabis. Rudy says that his main reason for watching this kid for the Grand Master is so he could use his condo at the beach club. He tries to dump the child watching responsibilities on the kid since he has to run the dojo, but then Jack and Jerry tell him that they can watch the dojo for him, so he can look after Sam himself. So the rest of the A-plot is spent showing the after effect of this decision. Jack and Jerry both have their own ideas on how the dojo should be ran. Jack has been pretty dismissive over Jerry's ideas because he thinks they're dumb. And yeah, they kinda are. Jack wants his dojo to be honorable and respectful, whereas Jerry just wants to have fun. So this leads to Jerry leaving and starting his own dojo inside of the Falafel Phil restaurant, Judo Jerry's. People from the Wasabi dojo start to flock over to Jerry's dojo after revealing some of the new cool food related perks. Plus they have fun little dancing breaks every now and then, reminiscent of iCarly. However, Jack tells Joan what's happening and she tells them their little dojo and falafel hut is against the rules and anyone who stays there will be taken into custody. So they all do the dash, as Jack hands them coupons for free lessons. Jerry gets upset by this, so he challenges Jack's dojo to a duel. The issue is, Jack's only student left is Joan, and Jerry's only student left is Phil. Low-key, I gotta go with Joan. Like, I do not like her character at all, but she seems to be in pretty good shape. Plus, she's a mall cop, she probably got some hands, having to stop thieves and whatnot. Fortunately though, Jack and Jerry realized that they were both acting a bit dramatic. Jack dreamed about having his own dojo since he was a kid, so he got a bit carried away. He also apologizes for calling Jerry's ideas dumb, because one of them actually turned out to be pretty useful, like the gis with airbags for new students that have fears of getting hit. So the two make up, but Phil and Joan didn't get the memo, and things go just about how you'd expect. And the A-plot wraps up. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, with the help of Kim and Milton, Rudy tries to supervise Sam, but things obviously are not going well. You guys ever watch Drake and Josh? Well, this kid is basically Megan, though with less gadgets. Bro is a menace and constantly terrorizing Milton and Kim. However, when Rudy and Sam start bonding over Rudy's figurine set, they start to get along for once. But then all of that bonding gets ruined by Sam accidentally knocking over Rudy's set and firing a toy cannon in his face. Obviously, this whole Rudy and Sam thing isn't going to work out. So Sam will be going back to live with the Grand Master and other monks at the monastery. But before the Grand Master comes to pick Sam up, Sam gives Rudy a homemade figurine to add to his collection, to fill the void of the missing piece he was missing earlier due to the company going out of business before it could get made. Feeling touched by this, despite it being made from rather gross items, Rudy tries to understand why Sam acts the way that he does. It's almost like he doesn't want a family to adopt him. Sam, since he'd never been a part of a family before, questions why they're even important, and Rudy tells him that family truly is everything. Feeling sorrow and compassion for this young orphan, Rudy offers for Sam to live with him, and Sam is ecstatic to hear that and agrees. And yeah, Sam actually becomes a recurring character from this point on. The writers must have felt that Rudy needed something to happen to him in order for his character to mature a bit, so they gave him a son. I, for one, am a fan of this arrangement, and I think this is a good thing for Rudy's character. I'm very curious to see how things will turn out with this new dynamic being introduced.
This July, non-stop summer is not stopping. Team up for the series premiere of Marvel
Avengers Assemble.
Shift into 2 more new animated shows.
Check it out.
Packages from Planet X and Camp Lake Bottom.
Awesome. Awesome!
And hit the brakes
That guy wants to destroy you!
for the dramatic Crash and Bernstein season finale.
Let's go to Hawaii!
Keep pedaling.
Falcon noise!
For real? Non-stop summer continues on Disney XD.
Nothing's gonna stop us from having the ultimate summer!
Rudy and Sam's story continues in the very next episode, aka Glove Hurts. In this one, the B-plot focuses on Rudy taking Sam to the annual Seaford Carnival. At first, Sam is extremely unimpressed by the fair, but when he spots a giant stuffed T-Rex, Rudy becomes hyperfixated on trying to win it for his new foster son. In order to win it, he has to knock the hat off of Abraham Lincoln. The issue is, though, he's like really bad. So he spends the entire episode spending a bunch of money on more attempts to win the prize. But of course, knowing Rudy, he starts to go overboard.
I am taking what's mine! You people are gonna give carnies a bad name!
Rudy freaking out like this in public isn't something new to his character. Matter of fact, he does this quite often. Sometimes it ends up being funny, but other times, it just kind of gets grating and tiresome. This episode introduces something new to the Rudy freakouts though. Generally, Rudy is being selfish in scenes like this, but seeing him get upset because he simply can't win a stuffed animal for Sam is really wholesome, honestly. And I gotta say, I really enjoy seeing a different side of Rudy, even if it's reminiscent of his character in the past. Rudy's antics get him and Sam kicked out of the carnival, so they try to come up with a new way to get in so Rudy can win Sam the dinosaur. Sam suggests sneaking through to perform his entrance and pretending to be a part of a carnival act, so Rudy listens. But as it turns out, the costume he puts on belongs to a performer named the Iron Gut, a man who can catch cannonballs with his gut. So we all know how this ends up happening. The crowd is loving Rudy's performance, so he gets asked to do it again. He initially says no, but when asked if there's anything he wants that would change his mind, he remembers how Sam wanted the stuffed animal. So, in the next shot, we see that he finally was able to get it for him. And yeah, dude, this is the wholesomest Rudy has ever gotten on this show. Season 1 Rudy wouldn't have done this. He just wouldn't have. Sam single-handedly changed Rudy's character, and for the better. Rudy performs his encore, and we see the after effects of it. Sam is happy that he got his prize though, and ultimately, that's all Rudy cares about. But then later, we see that the game wasn't actually rigged. Rudy was just really bad at it. But it's whatever though, they got the prize, yay! In the A-plot of this episode, Jack and Jerry accompany Milton to a high-tech lab after he wins the science fair. The lab has a bunch of cool experiments and inventions like invisible guard dogs and rubber snot. Things go really well at first, but then Jack and Jerry find out the only reason why Milton's science project, which was a set of gloves that increase hand strength, won is because the brilliant billionaire inventor dude wanted to sell them to some shady people and make even more money. Apparently this is something that he does rather often, considering he has like a room full of illegal tech. So Milton, Jerry, and Jack despise a plan to take the gloves back and also take down the bad guy. Oh, yo, man, Jerry, you alright? Oh, Jack got hit too. Yeah, those gloves are crazy. Anyway, yeah, they take down the bad guy. Milton's dad makes a comeback. This A-plot is really bad. Moving on.
Almost. Not quite. Wasabi. Kickin' It is next on Disney XD.
Win, Lose, or Tie is a rather special episode of Kickin' It Season 3. Not necessarily because of the quality of the episode, but really because it aired during this block on Disney XD that was all monster truck themed. This is one of Disney XD's many attempts to reel in that male audience, because you know, boys love monster trucks. Not me though, I never really cared about them. Actually, I take that back. You guys remember Meteor and the Mighty Monster Trucks? That show is a banger. Anyway, the episode starts off with the Wasabis actually outside for once. I'm pretty sure this is the first time they've ever shot something outdoors. It's kind of refreshing. Once a month, Rudy sends the kids outside to promote the Wasabi Dojo in front of the Black Dragons Dojo to drum up more business. But it never works. Just then, he pulls up in a giant monster truck called Wasabosaurus. The crazy thing is the only reason why Rudy rented this was so he could promote the dojo. Talk about going the extra mile. Rudy revs up the engine but accidentally drives it straight into the Black Dragon's dojo. This whole sequence in retrospect has to have been one of the most expensive ones the show has ever had. Between shooting outdoors, showing all of these different shots of the Black Dragon dojo, and of course this crash through the door, yeah, this probably cost them a pretty penny, as they say. Season 3 is going all out with its production. it's a shame that the episodes aren't as good. Because of this mishap, Rudy now has to share his dojo with the Black Dragons, which is something that doesn't make anybody happy. As the Dragons make their way in, Jack notices that his cousin and former rival Kai from the China episode has joined the Black Dragons. Welcome back, Zeke and Luther alum Troy Romzek. The Dragons make themselves at home and Jack and Kai greet each other. And it's honestly funny how much Leo Howard has grown since season 1. Like, this dude is towering over Kai. As you can imagine, things are not going well between the two dojos. Between Kai eating Jerry's food, the other Dragon members hogging up all the shower time, and Kim getting tired of sharing a locker with Frank, everybody is tired of this whole arrangement. However, when Rudy and Ty start bonding over their love for a movie called Kung Fu Farm, they realize that they have a lot more in common than originally expected. So, they instantly become best friends and have decided to merge their dojos permanently. And everyone, rightfully so, is horrified by this news. In order to restore things back to normal, the Wasabis and Kai come up with a plan to split up Rudy and Ty by having Ty's pet ants eat Rudy's bonsai tree, because apparently that species of ants love to eat bonsai trees, despite the fact that it makes them sick. So their mindset is that if Rudy sees that Ty's ants ate his tree, and Rudy's tree made Ty's ants sick, that'll be enough to make them hate each other again.
And Ty will want us to leave this smelly dump. Excuse me? Okay, this place happens to be... Oh, no, you're right.
That's funny. So the ants get to work and eat Rudy's tree, which Rudy notices when he and Ty get back from square dancing with each other. And Ty notices how sick his ants are now. Things get heated at first, but then...
You have suffered an unimaginable loss! Huh? As have you.
It appears that their newfound appreciation for each other is too deep now. They're actually starting to forgive each other. What are the Wasabis going to do? Rudy and Ty call for a dinner meeting to celebrate their first week together as a joint dojo. They leave to grab a cake, but then Milton accidentally launches a crab leg at Kai's face, which somehow starts an all-out brawl between both dojos. And honestly, this might be one of the worst fight scenes of the entire show. Like, this really isn't good at all. Look at what Kai and Jack are doing in the back while Milton is fighting a random black dragon. They put no effort into this at all. What happened to the game I love? Rudy and Ty come back with the cake, but Frank falls directly into it. Both of the senseis are disappointed, nay, enraged by the actions of their respective students.
Anyone have anything to say? I do. This raspberry lemon chiffon cake is to die for. We should have this for our wedding, hun.
This isn't funny. Frank's got to be like 21 at this point. Kim is like 15.
Why wait?
Yeah, there you go, Kim. Own that fraud. Later, Rudy and Ty announce that until the two dojos can prove that they can get along, they will be giving all of their students the silent treatment, for whatever reason. But Jack, Kai, and Kim tell their senseis that they were right. They should have reacted better to the merge of the dojos and learned from their example of letting go of grudges from the past. In honor of that message, the students got them both a gift to share. It's called a ranking board, which is something where members of a martial arts school have their names displayed on wooden slats in order of seniority and divided by rank. So you can imagine that Ty felt a bit disrespected when Rudy put his name over his. So he takes Rudy's name off and places his own name in the top spot. This then causes a fight to break out between Rudy and Ty, and yeah, things are going back to Norman, as they would say in Rugrats. So yeah, this episode is kind of mid. However, I will say I was not expecting Kai to make a comeback. But I feel like Kai being a member of the Black Dragons is something that just makes a lot of sense. I'm surprised they didn't do this in season 2. Frank and Jack are not equal in terms of karate, so like if Kai was a member of the dojo full time, you could just have Kim take on Frank and Kai take on Jack. And like everyone else in the Black Dragon dojo, Kai has beef with Jack, so it really is a perfect setup. Unfortunately, Kai never comes back after this, which is really disappointing because even now I do feel like there are more stories to tell with his character, specifically involving his rivalry with Jack. It just seems like a wasted opportunity to me. But yeah, bye Kai, I'm gonna miss you, man. See you whenever I talk about Zeke and Luther on this channel. So far, in terms of guest stars on this show, most of them have been athletes, and that trend continues in the episode Gabby's Gold, featuring gold medalist gymnast Gabby Douglas, aka the girl that has no idea how to Dougie.
What's up, guys? I'm Leo Howard on the set of Kickin It, and we are hanging with gold medalist Gabby Douglas here.
Just kicking it. Ready? Okay. On the set, I'm Gabby Douglas. Okay. I'm on the set, I'm Gabby Douglas. Okay. I'm on the set, I'm Gabby Douglas. Hey guys. Hey guys.
She impresses all of us on set. Gabby Douglas.
She's really cool.
Gabby. She's a gold medalist.
She's phenomenal at what she does.
Gabby Douglas. Is that good?
Catch a brand new Kickin It with Gabby Douglas next Monday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney XD.
Bam, now Gabby Douglas is on Kicking It.
The episode starts with Milton and Jack cheering on Kim at her gymnastics match. So, okay, let's recap. Kim was on the cheerleading team, the basketball team, and is now on the gymnastics team, while still being a student with presumably good grades, and going to the dojo every day after school. How does she handle all of this stuff, bruh? Teach me your ways. Anyway, Milton thanks Jack for hanging out with him as he handles his rough breakup with Julie? So apparently Julie broke up with Milton off screen at some point. The last time we saw her was in the season 2 episode All the President's Friends, which was like really bad, so I skipped over it. And what makes this even weirder is that Jack somehow has zero memory of Milton dating Julie, which doesn't make any sense because he literally played a part in those two getting together. But okay, sure. Jack says that Julie is probably going through the same thing as Milton, but we later see that this isn't true because Milton spots her kissing another dude, again off camera. Jack says that since Kim is up, he should watch her instead of worrying about Julie. So he does. You know full well that ain't Olivia Holt. After finishing her match, Kim tells her teammate Tori that all she has to do is complete one vault and their team wins. So, fun fact, I say that a lot, but fun fact, Tori is played by Kaylee Bryant. If she looks familiar to you, that's because she was already on Kickin' It, playing another character named Carrie, who is basically the same exact person as Tori. It's like they forgot Carrie existed, so they came up with a new character. Between this and Jack not remembering Milton and Julie dating, is it possible that like seasons 3 and 4 of Kickin' It take place in another universe, similar to the first one but with a few changes? Like Eddie not existing anymore, or Carrie now being called Tori. You know what, that's my headcanon from now on. Anyway, Carrie, or Tori, or whatever, runs up to do her vault, but fails badly in front of everyone. Claire, who goes to the Swarthmore Academy school, tells Kim that if she just quits now, she won't have to go against her undefeated team. But Kim says that they aren't afraid of her team, even though they should be. She goes on to say that her teammates are not quitters, but then as soon as she says that, her entire team quits. Kim is rightfully so sad by all of this, so to make her feel better, Jack gives her tickets to the gymnastics show being held at the Civic Center, but says she can't go because she's doing gymnastic tryouts. Milton swoops in and takes the tickets though, claiming that he doesn't have much of a life anymore ever since Julie broke up with him.
You were going out with Julie?
You played a part in it too. Alright, you know what? Yeah, alternate timeline. After an unsuccessful tryout session, Kim heads back to the dojo where Milton informs her that while he was at the Civic Center, he informed a girl there about her situation and she agreed to coach Kim's team. But Kim is quick to deny her help, saying that she doesn't want to be coached by some pimply-faced wannabe gymnast. Which is kind of mean. But then, Milton explains that she'll actually be coached by Olympic gold medalist Gabby Douglas, and Kim starts geeking. Gabby comes in, doing her best Izzy from Jump In impression, and greets Kim. I love how whenever a guest star is on a sitcom, every character in the show happens to be a fan of them. After the commercial, Kim starts geeking even harder, and Milton says to chill out in front of his girlfriend. What? Wait, so Milton is just casually dating Gabby Douglas? Okay then. Later at practice, Gabby starts training the new members of the gymnastics team that somehow exists now, and Kim starts echoing everything Gabby is saying. A lot more aggressively, might I add. Kim points out that they still don't have anyone to compete for the rings match, but just as she says that, Jerry runs in and asks to be hidden because his girlfriend caught him comforting another girl. He runs from behind Gabby, and when she tries to see where he went, she spots him hanging from the rings, and he lands with perfect form. Kim and Gabby realize that Jerry will be the new ring competitor. Meanwhile, in the B-plot, Rudy and Jack have been entertaining prisoners or something, I don't know. However, when they take their supply cart back to the dojo, they are unaware that one of the inmates snuck out by writing in it. He uses a phone to call some of his boys so they can go to the Civic Center to, as he puts it, bring home the gold. Back in the A-plot, Jerry finishes up his fantastic ring performance as Carl the prison dude and his boys make their way to the Civic Center to steal Gabby's medals. Dressed as security guards, their plan is to take the other guards' place so they have access to them. Kim starts off her performance really well, but ultimately ends up failing during her landing. But after remembering what Gabby told her earlier about not taking everything so seriously and to just have fun, she proudly gets up. I don't even know why she cares so much about gymnastics, bruh. She's like one of the best female fighters in the world. After her performance though, Jack and Rudy notice that Carl the prison dude has somehow escaped from prison. So they both, with the help of Milton, step in to prevent him from getting away with the medals. And we get a good old-fashioned kicking it fight scene. They get the medals back and celebrate a job well done. Claire pulls up and asks if Gabby wants to take a picture with the real winning team, aka them, but she instead takes a picture with the Wasabi Warriors. And the episode ends with Milton and Gabby realizing that their relationship won't work long distance, so they agree to break it off. And Gabby flips away and waves goodbye for the final time. I don't even know why Milton is so sad, bro. Like, he literally dated Gabby Douglas. He has all the street cred in the world now. Who cares if it was for like one day? Rudy pulls up and says that he shouldn't be too upset because she'll be coming back soon. Milton asks if it's because true love conquers all, but nah, it's because this idiot still has her medals. That's stealing, Rudy. Come on, bro. You're better than that. Or maybe you aren't. I don't know. You'd think having a son now would make him come to his senses, but I guess not. So after seeing this average episode of Kickin' It, my only real note or question, should I say, is where does Gabby Douglas rank on the scale of athletes that have appeared on kids sitcoms? She's certainly better than Devin Williams on Sweet Life, Carmelo Anthony on Ned's Declassified, and Dwayne Wade on Austin and Ally. But is she better than Karl Anthony Towns on Gamer's Guide to Pretty Much Everything? I don't know, man. That's kind of tough. I'm just kidding, guys. They're all really bad. But they don't need to be good because they're athletes for a reason. 2 Dates and a Funeral is probably one of the most important Kickin' It episodes to date. Is my mic in? My mic was, in fact, in. 2 Dates and a Funeral is probably one of the most important Kickin' It episodes to date, as it's the episode that'll change Kickin' It forever, at least until the season 3 finale. The episode starts off with, I kid you not, a human trafficking event at the school. So yeah, Seaford High holds a charity day auction to raise money for the instruments used by the school marching band. This is like really weird. Basically, you're supposed to purchase the rights to a female student and go out with her. A girl named Carol Thompson gets purchased by Jerry for $75. Then later, Kim gets announced and she tells Milton that she doesn't feel comfortable doing this since it's not really her thing. But then okay, am I the only one that thinks this is like really odd? Like, I'd expect this from a Nickelodeon show, like Victorious or something, but I don't know. This is kind of, all right. Anyway, this kid named Albert, who's a nerd, he actually becomes a recurring character on the show, unfortunately, buys a date with Kim for $200. It gets revealed after the intro that Albert might have been doing the bidding, but it was actually for someone else. That someone else being Jack. So Jack spent $200 to go on a date with the girl that he's already been on like 2 dates with. I mean, technically 2 of them happened before they found out they had feelings for each other, but the one in the season 2 finale was definitely a date. Kim even says,
Jack, you know I think of us as more than just...
like, are we pretending like the events of season 2 did not happen? Oh wait, you know what? This is another reason why my theory of this taking place in an alternate timeline makes sense, dude. Maybe this is really their first time admitting their feelings for each other in this timeline. That makes perfectly good sense. Jack says he didn't want to bid for her himself because he didn't want it to weird their friends out. I don't think this would have happened though, because ever since episode 1, most of the gang already believed that Kim had a crush on Jack. Man, all of them are probably just patiently waiting for them to date already, but whatever. Jack and Kim agree to go on their first official date. Jack says that for their date, he was able to book a reservation for a restaurant called Portocini's, and their date is officially set for tomorrow night at 7:30. Kim is ecstatic by this and reminds Jack not to say a word about this to anyone. However, things get a bit complicated when Jack goes into the bathroom and Jerry walks in talking to his current girlfriend on the phone. He throws it in his locker and starts complaining to Kim, and Kim tells him that the perfect girl for him might be closer than you'd think. She then walks away, but unfortunately forgets a bracelet that she made that says J plus K. Jerry puts 2 and 2 together and realizes that Jack and Kim are going out, but then Kim says that it's not meant for Jack, it's actually meant for another J person. And then Jerry starts to believe that since his name starts with J, and since earlier Kim said that the perfect person may be closer than he realizes, that the J actually stands for Jerry. Having no choice, Kim says that it does stand for Jerry. So Jerry says that their first date will be tomorrow night, the same day and time that she's supposed to be going out with Jack. And then later, as if things couldn't get any worse, Jack tries to buy a corsage for Kim, but then Milton comes in and asks him what's in the box. Not able to tell him what it really was, he resorted to telling him it was a bird, his dead bird. So Milton says that he wants to have a funeral for it in the dojo, citing that since he never got a chance to say a proper goodbye to his goldfish from 9 years ago, he wants to give Jack the opportunity to have the closure he never had. So it's settled. Jack is going to have a funeral for a bird that doesn't exist, and Kim is going to go on a date with Jerry due to her having a crush on him that also doesn't exist. I'm sure this is going to go very well. During Kim and Jerry's date, Kim is not having a good time, which makes a lot of sense. Then she remembers what Jerry said earlier about not liking clingy girls and decides to start acting like one in an attempt to freak out Jerry. But once she calls, literally from the bathroom, he dumps his phone in a glass of water. It looks like she succeeded. That is, until we see them later at Falafel Phil's, and Jerry says that ever since they've been dating, every single girl in the school has been interested in him. Jerry says that because of Kim, he's now in a whole new league. So if he has to put up with her being clingy, he will. And he doesn't plan on breaking up with her for a long time. Meanwhile, Milton somehow actually managed to get people to attend Jack Bird's fake funeral. Sounds like an Adam Sandler movie or something. Jack is peer pressured into giving a speech for the bird, and he does as good a job as anyone could in this situation.
Bye-bye, birdie.
After Milton and Jack took a 4-mile funeral march to Mount Seaford, Milton explains that when his goldfish died, his dad got him a bird. So he gives that same bird to Jack.
Change me. You're not changing your... I said change me!
Hey bro, what kind of bird is that? Later, Jack and Kim finally get a chance to meet up with each other, but quickly get interrupted by Jerry and Milton. Jack and Kim finally come clean about their relationship. Jerry asks if Kim ever really wanted to date him, and she obviously says no. Okay, so I personally do not buy that Jerry would ever see Kim in a romantic sense. Just because I feel like, with the exception of Jack, all of the Wasabis kind of viewed Kim as a sister. I think a better way they could have done this episode is by simply saying that Jerry knew the whole time that it was for Jack, but wanted to get Kim to say it out loud, because he was tired of her and Jack never officially tying the knot. Wait, that means marriage. What I mean is, Jerry is capable of having random smart moments every now and then. And since he already felt like Kim had a huge crush on Jack since the very first episode, I find it hard to believe that he genuinely thought Kim liked him. Doing the plot that I mentioned instead would have been better in my opinion, because it would have been a funny way of poking fun of the fandom at the time, who desperately wanted Kim and Jack to get together, but were tired of the long wait and seemingly frequent retcons. But it's cool. Jack and Kim are officially dating. Kim hands Jack the bracelet she made, and the two finally go on their first date, apparently. Whatever. Alright, so this episode did not need to be this complicated. We didn't have to go through all of these hoops just to find out what we've already known since the pilot. It would have been so funny if in the end, the characters had like zero reaction to Kim and Jack dating. Isn't there a comic book where Clark finally tells Lois that he's Superman and Lois is just like, yeah, I know. That's what I felt like this should have been. Because truly, it's not a big deal. What's interesting about this episode is that, let's say Eddie was still in season 3. Where exactly would he fit? The A plot of the episode only really called for the 4 people involved, whereas the B plot was really a fun Rudy and Sam centric story that I feel would have been, well, ruined if Eddie was shoehorned into it. Now you could argue that Sam's existence only came about because of Eddie's season 3 absence, which is likely true. That would have meant that while Jack, Milton, Kim, and Jerry are all playing key roles in one of the most important episodes to date, Eddie, who was supposed to be a part of this crew, has to miss out on it because he's too busy doing whatever with Rudy. And to me, this just proves even more that on a story standpoint, unfortunately Eddie just wasn't needed in this show. despite him being a solid character. But I'm sure I'll have more opportunities to talk about this in the future.
The tournament of senseis. Everything has been leading.
I'm gonna be competing.
You can't compete, it's only for senseis. To this. Wait, not that. This.
I am a sensei at Karate King.
You're a who and where now?
It's time for the teacher to get schooled.
Fancy gi, matching wristbands. Bet you're even wearing Karate King underpants.
Yes, unfortunately I am.
Jack versus Rudy on a brand new Kickin' It next Monday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney XD.
In the episode Sensei and Sensibility, the Sensei versus Sensei tournament is in town, and Jack asks Rudy if he can compete in it as a sensei. Rudy says that he's simply not ready to be a sensei, even though Jack argues that he's more than ready now since he's a second-degree black belt and never loses his tournaments. But Rudy believes that there's still more that he needs to teach Jack before he's ready to make that jump, one of which being maturity, which is absolutely hilarious coming from Rudy. Later, Jack meets Chuck Banner, aka the Karate King, the head sensei from a rivaling dojo. Chuck recognizes Jack from the Wasabi Dojo commercial that we saw earlier in the episode and says that he was the only good thing about it. He tells him a story of a Chinese sensei named Young Mi, who managed to become a sensei at the young age of 16. He goes on to say that if he joins the Karate King dojo, he will not only become a sensei instantly, but will also be able to compete in the Sensei Karate tournament. Jack thinks long and hard about this offer, but when Rudy decides to promote him to be his corner man, aka the dude who carries around a spit bucket, instead of competing in the tournament as a sensei, Jack decides to take the Karate King up on his offer and join his dojo, much to the dismay of Rudy. This is an interesting dynamic because you could easily write this off as Rudy being a man-child like usual, but even though his actions don't show it most of the time, at the end of the day, Rudy is still an expert at karate. So when he's explaining to Jack that he wants what's best for him and believes he's truly not ready to be a sensei yet, I do think he is being 100% genuine. Jack, although portrayed to be pretty mature, at least for a 16-year-old and a second-degree black belt, is still a kid. So although I do understand where Jack is coming from, you almost have to side with Rudy on this one. He's still Jack's OG, his vet even, for my basketball fans out there. But I mean, I'm sure Jack knows this. I mean, he can't be that far gone. Oh snap. Yeah, never mind, that boy might have lost it. So the match begins and Rudy and Jack successfully take down all of their opponents, meaning that they will be matched up against each other. Oh dude, this is gonna be so sick. It's like if Batman and Nightwing fought. Sure, Nightwing might be younger than Batman and have more energy, but Batman taught him all of his moves. Anyway, back to the episode. Kim, Jerry, and Milton arrive to see their two friends perform, but are conflicted on who they should root for. Although realistically speaking, Kim should totally be rooting for Jack, considering, well, you know, they're dating. The match begins, and they both seem to be trading equal blows to each other. The first round ends in a draw due to Rudy countering all of Jack's strikes, which is honestly what would probably happen in a Batman versus Nightwing fight. Jack asks the Karate King for some advice on how he can take down Rudy, but all he says is to win since it's good for business. Jack puts together that the Karate King isn't much of a king of karate at all and is in the business only to make money. It was a nice detail to add all of the sponsors that he has on their gis. This man ain't a martial arts expert at all, bruh. Get this Mickey Mouse sensei out of here. The second round begins and Jack finally lands a good strike on Rudy. But then, Rudy takes off his helmet. And I kid you not, taps into the Speed Force and slows down time and easily counters all of Jack's attacks. Apparently this is part of a martial arts form called Shindu. This is referenced earlier in the episode and Rudy explains it as challenging your enemy's energy and using it to take them down. What kind of Avatar The Last Airbender? Rudy uses this technique to take Jack down and unsurprisingly Jack is a really good sport about it. As is Rudy. Jack apologizes to Rudy and finally understands why he's not ready to be a sensei yet. I respect this episode a lot because it is one of the rare times where Rudy is genuinely serious and his actions could actually, for once, be attributed to him being the most mature character in the show. Jack has all the talent in the world, but is simply just not ready to be a sensei yet. But Rudy does assure him that he will be one day, and we won't have to wait long for it either. And in case you were wondering what was happening in the B-plot, we actually get our final Marge the Lunch Lady appearance. Milton, Kim, and Jerry are sick of Marge's bad cooking, so they try to band together to get her and the rest of the lunch ladies to make better food. This leads to all of the lunch ladies quitting, and y'all know full well that ain't no high schooler, bruh. That's a grown man. Bro probably got 3 kids. Anyway, all the lunch ladies quit, and the kids are now responsible for making the food for everyone else. When that doesn't go well, they desperately try to get Marge back by remodeling the entire cafeteria in the style of her own restaurant, something that she's always wanted since she began cooking. And although this plot is like really mid, I do think it's interesting that after only having 1 appearance in season 2, they randomly decided to bring her back in an episode that actually felt kind of like a send-off. Man, y'all couldn't have done that with Eddie? But yeah, overall, the A-plot was really decent, and I enjoy these kinds of Kickin' It episodes.
XD's got your Monday covered.
Too bad you can't be in 2 places at once.
But you can. Just ask Lab Rat Kelly Berglund, special guest star on a brand new Kickin' It.
I am her biggest fan.
Followed by an all-new Lab Rats with 16 times more Adam.
So let's get to know each other. I'm Adam.
No way, that's my name.
You gotta do that again.
Be in 2 places at once, only in 1 place.
Bye-bye.
On Disney XD.
Where have you 2 been? We have been worried sick about Sloan.
Brand new next Monday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central.
It was late in season 1 where we had Billy Unger on this magnificent show. So it was only right that 2 seasons later, we get another Lab Rats guest star, this time in the form of Kelly Berglund. In this one, a female karate expert / celebrity named Sloan Jennings is coming to Seaford. Oh, whoa, it's Captain Man. What's he doing here?
And we've come to Karate Con to find a new dojo for Sloan.
Oh, that's what he's doing here. In this episode, we also see the return of Trent Darby, who, in case you don't remember, is another sensei from another competing dojo. He used to be rivals with Rudy back in the day, and he is played by Leo Howard's IRL sensei, Matt Mullins. Both dojos will be competing for the enrollment of Sloan, so Rudy does his best to make sure his dojo looks perfect, which of course means telling Milton and Jerry to stay away from it. Rudy, Jack, and Kim all understand how big it would be for Sloan to join the dojo. Kim wants it to happen so she can finally have another girl in the dojo. Rudy wants it to happen so we can get new students. And Jack wants that to happen so we can have a better opportunity to be promoted to sensei. Did this dude not watch the last episode? Or to help sell the idea that their dojo is perfect, Rudy also went through the process of hiring model karate students to replace Milton and Jerry. He also told everyone to act a certain way when Sloan and Captain Man arrive at the dojo. So when they come in a bit later, Jack and Kim exaggeratedly bow down to Rudy. Rudy shows Captain Man around the dojo as Kim makes her way to introduce herself to Sloan. Sloan mentions how she doesn't actually get to choose which dojo she joins, since everything is run by her Captain Manager. Oh, that's a bar! Y'all know nothing about that. Anyway, yeah, the Wasabi Dojo gets chosen. That's the new dojo Sloan's in. The way y'all sleep on my channel is like y'all on melatonin. Shout out to Conan. Y'all should see the car that I rode in. Your bars are so far apart, that's how I know that you rode it. Ah! So after a quick show for the audience, Rudy has racked up in the dojo. Sloan and Kim go out for lunch at, you guessed it, Falafel. Oh, wait, no, I don't think we've seen this place before. My apologies. After goofing off with Kim, a little boy asks for Sloan's autograph. This triggers a little rant about how Sloan has been turned into a business and how she'd give anything to just go back to a normal life. And she can't just quit because her manager basically owns her career since he discovered her when her parents couldn't even afford karate classes. This prompts Kim to want to have a little fun with Sloan, so she forces her to sing some karaoke. Unfortunately for her though, Trent Darby walks in as they both begin to sing their song. Look for the Olivia Holt album in stores November 13th. Now for real though, it's actually crazy how they just be shamelessly plugging Olivia Holt's music career. This song was actually featured in Holt's Disney movie, Girl vs. Monster. Again, I'm not reviewing it. Go watch Kean Carlisle's video. Or Lula Loopsies. Jack, Rudy, and Captain Manager are both upset over Kim and Sloan arriving late to the dojo.
You want Sloan here? Kim's gonna have to go.
Excuse me, Kim is a wonderful student with a bright future.
Fine, Sloan, come on, we're leaving.
Oh, this Kim, she's out.
Whoa! Whatever happened to staying loyal? Ain't that in the Wasabi code? This dude Rudy is crazy. Kim tries to tell him what Sloan told her about how she's actually been miserable this whole time, but Sloan chooses not to speak up, which ultimately leads to Kim getting kicked out of the dojo. The next day at the match, Sloan feels horrible about what happened and just wants to get everything over with. Rudy says that if she doesn't want to do this, she doesn't have to. And Jack adds on, asking if she could be anywhere that she wants right now, where would it be? And we get a quick little transition to the karaoke restaurant where Kim is watching the karaoke competition go down. Sloan greets Kim and thanks her for giving her the confidence to speak up about how she really feels about karate. And the two head up to perform the Girl vs. Monster song again. And I'm already getting sick of this song. Trent and Captain Manager walk in as the two get started though and demand that she gets off that stage so she can compete in the tournament. But Rudy and Jack step in. And then somehow a fight breaks out in this coffee shop. The most unrealistic thing about the Kickin' It fight scenes is like, nobody ever gets billed for the damages. Somebody is going to have to pay for that door, that mug, that plate, and that chair. What's even more unrealistic though was the fact that none of the workers intervene or call their managers. But anyway, Trent and Captain Manager run away, and the episode ends with Sloan deciding to take a break from karate. And we never see any of these characters again. And the B-plot, Milton tries to help Jerry with his lying problem. Yup. I feel like this episode was just kind of mid, honestly. It didn't move me in the slightest. I think, in retrospect though, my original thoughts on Season 3 were a bit too harsh. And I think that is mainly because of the fact that for months straight, I was consuming nothing but Kickin' It content. Maybe an episode of Ben 10 every now and then, but we saw how that turned out. Haha. So I started to feel Kickin' It fatigue. Don't get me wrong, I still don't really care for this episode, but maybe Season 3 isn't as bad as I thought it was. It's no Season 2, but it still has some gems. Yeah, unfortunately though, this next episode we're going to talk about is not one of those gems though. Oh man. In one of the worst episodes of Kickin' It, aka Seaford, We Have a Problem, Milton graduates from the Junior Astronauts program, but his speech gets interrupted by an army general who states that the US president just received word that Russia will be sending a 17-year-old boy into space, which would break the record for youngest person to do so. So to keep that record going, they have decided that Milton will be going into space. What does that have to do with karate? Later, fellow astronaut Gunnar Nelson shows Milton how different his life will be now that he is an astronaut. One of the perks he shows him is how easy it is for him to get girls because apparently girls love astronauts. Is this true? I feel like this isn't true. Whatever. After Milton tries it out for himself, Jerry realizes that there might actually be something to this astronaut thing. So he asks Milton if he can get a job at the Space Center so he can get a badge. And even though he's the least qualified applicant for any job really, Milton was actually able to get Jerry a job. The general has appointed him as the sitter for his wife's cat. This actually does make a lot of sense though, considering Jerry does work at the zoo. So he should theoretically know how to take care of a cat. Everyone leaves to go to a party that they're throwing in honor of Milton going into space, but Gunnar tells Milton that Jerry can't go since he's not an astronaut. He then tells Milton that if anyone is going to break the news to him, it should be him since they're best friends. So Milton has to sadly deny Jerry access to the party, which of course makes Jerry upset. He then coughs up a hairball, which is absolutely disgusting. Later, Jerry misplaces the cat but finds it aboard a space shuttle. Neither of them should be in there since neither of them are astronauts. One of them isn't even human, so that goes without saying. But of course, this is a comedic children's show where funny stuff has to happen. So what's better than a boring old astronaut going to space, an idiot, and a cat going to space? So after Jerry pushes a bunch of buttons, he presses one in particular that initiates the launch sequence. Milton and the space people, or whatever they're called, establish connection with Jerry while at the base and try to talk him into landing the space shuttle. After pressing a button that he shouldn't have, again, I'm just going to let Milton explain it.
He short-circuited the electrical system, blew the fuel cells, and caused a giant hole in the heat shields.
So now it is apparently impossible for Jerry to get back home.
Seaford, we have a problem!
Milton explains to Jerry that since the shuttle he's in is too damaged, there is no possible way to get him back. Then Gunnar chimes in and says his head will explode. Nice aircraft side manner you got there, man. The general says that if word were to get out about this, it would be an international embarrassment. But of course, as soon as he says that, Chappie Chapman, a Gilroy news reporter who's first introduced in season 3, comes in and starts reporting on the event. But like, there's literally no cameraman with him. This dude is talking to absolutely no one. Even the general looks at a camera that I suppose is supposed to be the news camera, but it's literally just a regular angle that we've seen the entire episode. And given how we already know what the area looks like, there is no way a camera could fit there. Anyway, Chappie Chapman is a recurring character who's actually played by the series creator, Jim O'Doherty. I still don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah, this character isn't funny. The way he talks kind of reminds me of how adults will try to talk to babies to make them laugh, which goes hard if you're like an infant and still dropping bombs in your diapers. But even for the 8-year-olds that this was intended for, there's no way this was making any of them laugh. Anyway, Milton eventually gets the idea that the only way Jerry gets back down to earth is if he literally jumps. Remember when the show was about karate? Meanwhile, in the B-plot, Jack, Kim, and Rudy get tasked with helping an old man at the bingo center, which is actually just Seaford High. Basically, he believes that a woman is cheating during matches, and the gang has to figure out what she's doing. So they disguise themselves as a bunch of old farts and investigate. They figure out how she's been cheating, a fight sequence breaks out, this episode is really bad, they win. Yay! After all this unfolds though, Kim gets a text saying that Jerry is all over the news. So they turn on the TV, and oh wow, they finally got Chappie Chapman a camera crew. Bruh, this dude trying to be Chechu Betcha so bad. Milton tells Jerry that all he has to do is fall from space to Earth. Jerry says that he's scared, but Milton tells him that he doesn't need to be. Dog, he's literally free falling from space to Earth. Come on. So we get this shot of Jerry walking out of the shuttle, and it's clear that they received a higher budget for this episode than usual because you almost rarely see shots like this in the show. Jerry then leans forward to start his journey as the entire city of Seaford patiently watches on TV. He starts falling down, and you'll never guess where he lands.
Jerry! Dude, we're so glad to have you back.
No, don't cheer for this nonsense. What happened to the game I love? They've done some pretty crazy stuff on Kickin' It before, right? And you know, somehow this is the hardest thing to believe. Jerry goes to space and crashes down coincidentally right into Seaford. Can we acknowledge how insane that is for a show that has nothing to do with science fiction? And the crazy part is, they never talk about this again. Jerry goes to space, guys. This episode is just so bad. This is to me a sign that a show is starting to lose ideas when they start doing stuff like this. This is ridiculous even for the show standards. Anyway, they all celebrate. Turns out Jerry grabbed the cat too. Everyone goes to Falafel Phil's. Episode over. What's crazy is that if you follow the airing order and not production order, there's an episode called A Home Alone at School where Rudy and Milton believe that they've been sent to space, but as it turns out, it's actually just a simulator. So somebody on the Kickin' It team thought it would be a good idea to have 2 episodes in the same season that almost have the same exact plot. And having them air so close together makes this even worse in my opinion. Come on, bro. What are we doing?
We'll be right back to the show. On Disney XD. And now back to the show. On Disney XD.
Anyways, it's been a little bit since we've talked about Jack and Kim's relationship, and fortunately for us, the next episode we will be going over is Faulty Temples. Now, the A-plot of this episode was Rudy, Jerry, and Milton turning the Shaolin Temple into a resort hotel. The Shaolin warriors are the best martial artists in the world, and first get introduced in an episode called The Chosen One. In that episode, the Wasabis befriend them and get invited to their temple. Jerry gets mistaken as the Chosen One, but when everyone finds out he wasn't legit, the warriors ban him and everyone else from the temple.
Well, maybe it's because you misled everybody and made them think that you were the Grand High Mystic Exalted One.
Hey, I only believed it because that Chinese Santa Claus said I was.
Yeesh. That's... yikes. But Jerry figures out that one of the warriors wanted to kill the Grandmaster. Well, not kill because the show is rated TVY7 and that's a no-no word, but he wanted to extinguish his flame. So Jerry gains supernatural abilities from the Grandmaster, literally flies, and takes down the bad dude. Because of this, the Shaolin warriors are cool with the Wasabis now and are no longer banished. So that takes us back to this episode, where the Wasabis are tasked with watching their temple while the Shaolins are out of town. While Rudy, Milton, and Jerry decide to turn it into a resort, Jack and Kim are spending their time together. Kim realizes that since they've been dating for a little bit now, it's time that he officially met her dad. Jack thinks it'll be easy peasy since he has something called the Jack Factor that makes everyone like him.
You really think you have something called the Jack Factor? Hey, where'd you get that?
So they set something up at Falafel Phil's for the two to meet.
Nice to meet you. Should I call you Chuck?
Mr. Crawford would be fine.
Why would you lead with that? Out of all the possible things to say to your girlfriend's dad, you went with that? Jack starts fumbling really, really hard. He tries to tell a couple jokes but fails miserably, and then he does this.
Why don't we order?
Oh. You just spilled water in my lap.
I'm so sorry.
Yo, this man was about to... Later, Kim and her dad go into the dojo, and Jack is still putting up Tony Snell numbers during this whole thing.
Thanks. Hey, it's the tie I saw Bergdorf's. How'd you know?
Well, I saw you go into Bergdorf, so I kind of followed you in.
Although Jack is acting a bit out of character here, I think this is actually a bit realistic. Like, not the whole stalking thing, that's weird, but to be so nervous around your girlfriend's dad for the first time, to the point where you start making mistakes that you normally wouldn't make, I guess adds up. This dude really does care about dating Kim, and rightfully so wants to make a good impression with her dad. I respect it. Just stop stalking people, please.
Kim, you gotta set me up on a second date with your dad.
Anyway, during Kim and her dad's laser tag match, Kim twists her ankle. Chuck says that in light of this, he'll have to forfeit, but Jack offers to step in and take her place. So despite Chuck's original disliking of Jack, he lets him play. Jack does some special maneuvers to get right in front of his two opponents, but quickly jumps away as his opponents shoot his own teammate. The only players left are Jack, Chuck, and their opponent Riley. So while Chuck fumbles to take out his own gun in time, Jack takes a bullet, or laser, for him. Chuck then promptly eliminates Riley, which gives them the W. They all celebrate their win, and Chuck begins to like Jack thanks to his bravery on the battlefield. Chuck suggests that they all go out for pizza, and he heads out to his car. Kim follows suit and starts to skip away, showing that she never actually hurt her ankle. She was expecting to get a reaction from Jack, but he tells her that he knew the entire time that she faked it, because being an intellectual human being is apparently also part of the Jack factor.
Part of all this is this.
In the last scene of the episode, Jack and Chuck go on a date of their own without Kim being present. This, for whatever reason, makes Kim upset. Wasn't the whole point of the episode to have them bond? Alright, whatever. The episode ends with Chuck telling Kim to go home and finish her homework, as he and Jack, the newest best friend duo in Seaford, go out to watch a movie. And we never see him again. For what it's worth, this B-plot isn't bad. I think it was a much needed episode to cement Jack and Kim as a real couple. As much as I don't really like romance subplots in shows like this, I do appreciate them actually trying to flesh out their relationship by having them go through real relationship stuff, such as this episode. I'm glad it's not a, hey, I like you, you like me, let's date, then have that one episode where we break up and then we might get back together. No, their relationship actually feels, dare I say, genuine. And I don't mind when they have plots like this focusing on it. Good job, Kickin' It writers, good job. Technically, if we follow production order, the episode Return of Spyfall should have been talked about a little while ago. But for once, Disney's scheduling team actually made a good decision in making this episode the last one before the season, and technically series finale, because of how important it is to that episode. So, for once, I decided to shake this up a bit and actually talk about this episode and the finale in the order that they aired, because I'm all about improving the flow of these videos, and I think I would be doing this little baby story arc a disservice if I follow the production order. So without any further ado, let's get into the recap for the episode Return of Spyfall.
To Disney XD.
Just imagine the evil I can do.
When dark forces threaten the world.
You don't recognize me, Jack?
An undercover team will face the fight
I don't trust them.
they train for on this train. See what I did there? Train.
This mission, it's the real deal.
Sorry, it's my first mission. I'm a little nervous.
Don't miss Kickin' It Return of Spyfall. It's Monday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney XD.
If you remember, the first episode of Season 3 was called Spyfall. In it, Jack was tasked with taking down a man disguised as Falafel Phil as he tried to poison the Prince of Hakmakistan. Jack was successful in his task, and the Prince of Hakmakistan thanked him before heading back home. Flash forward however long it's been since that episode, we are now at an episode that hints the return of that subplot. In the intro to the episode, we get some forced exposition dialogue from Kim and Jerry, revealing that Jack and Milton are on a trip to Washington, D.C. with Principal Thunderberg after winning some sort of school essay contest. And this is actually Kim and Jerry's only appearance in the episode. and Rudy doesn't appear in it at all, making it the first time he's been absent from an episode. Kim remarks that Jack is probably meeting the president right now, but in all actuality, he's talking to Schwaz from Henry Danger at a restaurant, accompanied by Milton and Principal Thunderbird. Okay, so to recap who Thunderbird is, since I haven't talked about him yet during this video, he first appeared in the season 2 episode Kickin It Old School as a gym teacher. Somehow later though, he becomes the head principal of the school. He's basically just Ty, but slightly less antagonistic. So there's no use breaking down anything about his character. Well, besides what we're about to learn about him in a few seconds. As he's about to reveal who he really is instead of a principal, he gets attacked by a random civilian. And in case this episode can't get weird enough, an old man jumps in to defend Thunderbird, and together they take down the rando. Thunderbird finishes his thought from earlier and mentions how he's not actually a principal. Instead, he's an undercover spy, because why not at this point? So basically, he first gets introduced as a gym teacher, but then nope, he's actually the principal somehow. But then nope, he's a spy now. Thunderbird introduces the old man as Agent 34. Turns out, Thunderbird is assembling a team of teen spies, and needs Milton and Jack for a mission. But before he gets into detail, the rando comes back, but apparently he's actually been a cyborg this whole time. Thunderbird lays him out, then unplugs him. Later they head to Thunderbird's head of operations and explains that he needs their help taking down an agency called RASH, which stands for Radical Agents Sabotaging Humanity. He goes on to say that he chose them because of Milton's smarts and Jack's impressive acts during the first Spyfall episode. What's funny is that they just use actual clips from the show, implying that someone was somehow recording Jack doing all that stuff, but we all know that's not true. It gets revealed that not only was all of that stuff a test, but the prince wasn't even real. Instead, we see that Agent 34 was both the prince and the old man from earlier. His real name is Shane Peters, and his father is apparently the greatest spy to ever live. We then meet Gray, played by
Lulu and Tarixa.
You might know her from the short-lived Nickelodeon series How to Rock. Gray's father was a street magician. She inherited some of her father's talents, but instead of pulling rabbits out of hats, she pulls wallets out of pockets, and she ended up in juvie because of it. But she also has hyper-observant skills, which are also useful in the spying game. She can also summon apples. That's nice. Thunderbird explains that a little while back his old partner turned evil and became the head of RASH after assuming the alias Dr. Cross. He stole all of the files of every spy in the program, which is why they're using a group of teenagers to infiltrate, since they have no history to their name and shouldn't be suspected as spies. Thunderbird asks Milton and Jack if they'll help out on the mission. Jack is rather hesitant, but then Milton speaks up for both of them, saying that they'd love to. Jack tells Milton that he doesn't trust these guys and isn't sure about helping them out. But Milton says that he's never been asked for anyone's help before. He's not like Jack, where everyone relies on him. He sees this as an opportunity to help people out, for once. So after hearing that explanation, Jack agrees to help, and the two boys are officially on the team. The next day, the team has a debriefing about the mission. The goal is to stop Dr. Cross from receiving something called liquidtonium, which has very dangerous capabilities. Neither Gray or Shane are thrilled about working with them, but Thunderbird emphasizes how important it will be for these two to unite as a group for this mission.
Whoa! I don't do roommates.
Okay then, it's settled. We'll bunk with Gray. Let's go. What?
That night while bunking with Shane, Jack and Milton overhear a phone message meant for him from his father. The duo deduce that Shane's negative father might be the reason why Shane tries so hard at everything, which could possibly add up. Shane so far has been portrayed to be a stuck-up dude who only really worries about himself. He's got talent as a spy, clearly, but also is a bit of a klutz, which balances out his try-hard attitude. Keep this random exposition drop in the back of your head, because I'm going to bring this up later in the video. Jack asks Milton if he's still interested in doing this mission, since it's a few tiers above fighting black dragons at the dojo. Milton says that this is finally a chance to prove himself, and show people what he's really capable of. So yeah, Milton and Jack become spies. Because why not, am I right? Thunderbird goes over the plan, which involves Shane, while in disguise, distracting the RASH agent carrying the liquidtonium. After that, Gray puts a descrambler on the case, which allows Milton to crack the code. After the case opens, Gray will swap the real canister with the fake one, and then later give said real one to Jack, who is riding a Segway. Shane questions if Jack even knows how to ride one, but Jack assures him that he'll be fine. As the team ends their meeting and goes out to complete the mission, Milton grabs Gray to deliver an important, heartfelt message.
If I don't make it back, I want you to forget me and move on.
Okay.
The team begins to execute their plan. While dressed as a cab driver, Shane starts waffling on to the man with the liquidtonium about some random stuff. The car then overheats, which distracts the rash agent enough to allow Gray to put the scrambler onto the briefcase. But after she does that, Milton starts fumbling badly with opening the briefcase. Gray is pretty annoyed by this, so she goes in herself with a laser cutter to open the case, which actually works for like a few seconds. Then she accidentally lasers Shane's fat suit. This causes an all-out panic to happen with everyone. As if things couldn't get any worse, Jack is struggling hard with the Segway. Clearly this dude hasn't seen Paul Blart Mall Cop. Shane and Gray start arguing over the case, since Shane wants his dad to know that it was him that saved the day, whereas Gray just wants to get the job done. Literally everything is going wrong for them right now, and I gotta say, it makes for a pretty funny scene. Thunderbird reveals that after the mishaps during the mission, the government has decided to shut the team down. He then scoffs at the idea of teenage spies, realizing it was always far-fetched. Everyone is pretty bummed out by it too. Shane reveals that his dad doesn't want him to be a spy and instead thinks he's better suited as a florist. I wasn't quite sure why he hated the idea of being a florist until I looked it up, and apparently it's not someone that installs floors. It's a person who sells and arranges plants and cut flowers. I might actually be stupid, guys. Jack chimes in and saying that he is to blame for what happened. If he wasn't so proud of himself, he could have admitted he didn't know how to ride a Segway. Gray mentions that now that the spy program is ending, she will be forced to go back to juvie. And Milton gives up on his chances on moving up in the world and believes he'll just have to go back to being Milton Krupnick, the nerd. But Jack says that that's simply not true because he is the bravest kid that he knows.
Stop the cap.
Milton says that he wishes he could wipe that smug look off Dr. Cross's face after what he's done to all of them. But then, while looking at his image on the screen, he realized that there is something in his glasses. So he zooms in, and Gray realizes that it's an NYC subway schedule. Cross highlighted the last stop, which is at Freedom Island. And just like the giant penny that Cross eliminated using liquidonium, the Statue of Freedom is made of copper, which is likely why Cross wants to go there. The gang realizes that this is their final shot at stopping Cross once and for all. Only issue is, they have no way of getting to New York in 20 minutes. That is, until Gray announces that she stole the keys to Thunderbird's jetcopter. Are any of them even old enough to fly it? Who knows? But they got a statue to save and an evil dude to take down, so we don't care about them rules and laws. Jack tells the team to put their hands in the middle. After doing that, they shout wasabi and head off. It's obvious Jack and Milton do that out of habit, but since Gray and Shane aren't familiar with their lore together, they question why they just shout wasabi, which is a pretty good joke, honestly. Whoa, CGI jetcopter! Alright, so the gang arrives on the subway and Gray immediately realizes that something is up with the soccer players. For starters, they're wearing high tops, which nobody plays soccer in, and the soccer ball is a size 4, which makes it a kid's ball. So when everyone clears out, the gang corners the cyborg soccer players and challenges them to fight. And they said challenge accepted. Golly. Jack follows one of the cyborgs to the top of the train car as Milton tries to find a way to stop the train since earlier the brakes were damaged during the fight. Meanwhile, Jack and cyborg soccer player are battling it out on top of the train, and wow, this is one of the best fighting sequences this show has ever had. Between the choreography, set design, and surprisingly decent Disney Channel green screening, it's obvious that they wanted this episode to be really special. And honestly, it is. Jack successfully grabs the Utonium or whatever it's called and kicks Buddy off the train. And as for Milton, he was able to use one of the cyborgs as a power source to slow down the train. Is that backed up by science? Probably not. But it sure was convenient. My favorite part about this scene is when Milton plugged the cords from the brakes into the cyborg. There's a brief moment where you can see where it obviously changed from having a real person to a dummy. Like, to me, it's something that easily could have just been cut and trimmed to make it look like one cohesive thing, but nah, they left it in there, and I think that is hilarious. Anyway, the team goes back to Washington, and Thunderbird starts gushing over the job the kids did. Like, he literally goes in the back to cry about it. The team, meanwhile, starts to say their goodbyes. Shane gives Jack some flowers and says it was an honor to be his leader, even though we all know that's not what actually happened. Gray hugs Milton goodbye as the two wrap up a one-sided love storyline that lasted one episode. Seriously, like, Milton has been trying to get with Gray the whole episode, and for the most part, it's pretty funny.
Guys, we're waiting for you.
You know what I'm waiting for, honey? Okay.
However, before Gray leaves, Milton says that he knows that she only hugged him so she could take his watch. So he smiles, gives it back to him, and disappears. And right when Jack and Milton are about to follow suit, Thunderbird asks a very interesting question.
You guys sure there's no way you would consider becoming permanent members of the team?
and the episode ends. Very open-endedly, might I add. Hot diggity dog, what an episode, am I right? I mean, it really took the show into a different direction. Real quick, before I dive into what I liked about this episode, I like to point out that, well, like I said earlier, Rudy is not in this episode. It's the only episode of the series without him, actually. However, what is interesting is that in the credits of this episode, you do actually see Jason Earls, as well as a lot of footage of Olivia Holt and Maejor Arias. A popular rumor that could, I suppose, be the case is originally a B-plot was planned involving those characters, but ended up getting scrapped for whatever reason. While I do think it is possible that happened, I've personally never heard of that happening on a TV show, especially a children's show, so I'm not sure how accurate that is. I'm not really sure where this footage came from, honestly, so maybe it is from a canceled B-plot, just thought I would acknowledge that. Going back to the episode, this is a really good one. Not only is it the best episode of Season 3, but it's honestly one of the best episodes the show has ever had. This right here is what a Disney XD show should be, if you really want to commit to the action-based live-action sitcoms. Plenty of humor, but some hard-hitting fighting sequences and relatively high stakes. As high as the TVY7 rating would allow, at least. Now, see, oddly enough, this episode was produced as episode 15, but it would air as episode 21, aka the episode right before the finale. This was a really good choice, as the season 3 finale would tie into the storyline a bit, and it was a lot better to have this episode air right before the finale so kids would have it fresh in their heads. And so since these episodes, in a strange way, are connected, I'm going to wait until after I talk about the next episode to dive into why this one was so important in setting up the future of the franchise. Because technically, the story isn't complete. So like I said, great episode, and I'll leave it at that for now. It is time now, though, to dive into Wasabi Forever, aka the season finale, and technically the series finale as well.
Kickin' It says goodbye to one of their own.
Please let it be me.
No, it's Olivia. So we say au revoir to the alluring.
Hence the highlights.
Bon voyage to the bold.
Sweet cheese, that is I.
And toodaloo to the team player.
I follow no man.
It's time to say farewell to Olivia.
Oh my gosh,
The dojo just won't be the same without you.
We'll always be connected.
Say sayonara to Olivia on the season finale of Kickin' It. Brand new next Monday night at 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney XD.
I'm not entirely sure why they called her Olivia in the promo when her name is Kim, but okay. The episode starts off with Milton and Jack signing each other's yearbooks, implying that this episode takes place towards the end of the school year. I think they're in the 10th grade now. Kim runs in excitedly, claiming that she just got a letter back from the Otai Academy. For those who don't remember, the Otai Academy was featured in the season 2 episode Hit the Road, Jack. In that episode, Jack was accepted into the Otai Academy, the best martial arts school in the world. Thing is though, it's in Japan. And after remembering the great relationship that he has with everyone in the dojo, he decided to stay. So then, fast forward a year, apparently off camera, Kim had submitted an application to that same academy. And what's hilarious is that she breaks what the academy is down to Jack like he doesn't already know. I guess that was for the kids at home, perhaps. Milton grabs a letter from Kim's hand and reads it for her. But instead of reading it out loud, all he does is read it in his head, which only frustrates Kim. So she snatches the letter back and reveals to them that she did in fact get accepted into the academy, and everyone celebrates. Kim is officially moving to Japan. Milton then states that it's crazy how both Kim and Jerry are leaving, and Jack and Kim somehow do not know this? Alright, this is kind of my thing with characters having to explain stuff that they already should know for the audience's sake. The Wasabi Warriors are one of the tightest friend groups that I have ever seen from any kid sitcom. It makes absolutely zero sense that Jerry would be moving away and he would simply just not tell Kim and Jack. I've always gotten the vibe that Jerry is closer to Jack than he is Milton, so why would he just tell Milton instead of anyone else? So again, I know they have to explain stuff for exposition's sake, but I feel like these two instances that I just mentioned were done really poorly. And it doesn't help that neither of these plots were introduced in the show earlier. Anyway, to actually explain where Jerry is going, Milton says that the zoo that he works at is sending him to Kenya for a research project. He's going to live with a family of baboons. And when Kim questions why they picked him, Jerry jumps down from the tree that he's been on this entire time, apparently, while eating a banana. When everyone walks away, Milton and Jack reveal to the audience that they actually accepted Thunderbrick's offer to go to Washington, D.C. to become spies full-time. But the thing is, they can't tell anyone because it's still a top-secret organization. It appears that the Wasabi gang will all be going their separate ways. Some departures were to be expected, while others do come to a bit of a surprise. After the intro, Rudy claims that despite the fact that they are all going their separate ways, they will always be connected by the Wasabi Code. And after saying that, Rudy decides to tell them all the story of the first Wasabi warriors and how the code came to be. Wait, this entire episode isn't going to be a story, is it? Oh my gosh! I don't want to recap this, bruh. What a stupid way to spend a season/series finale. Nobody cares about the origins of the Wasabi Code, bruh, and to spend a whole episode about it? Ugh. Rudy explains long ago in a distant land stood the revered Wasabi Temple, where the peaceful martial art known as the Wasabi Method was developed by great masters. The village flourished under the watchful gaze of the Dragon's Eye, which brought peace to the land. However, this tranquility was shattered when the nefarious Black Dragons led by an evil master invaded the temple and stole the Dragon's Eye, plunging the village into darkness and fear. So what this implies is that the Black Dragons were purposely named after the Black Dragons of old. I don't think it's ever revealed which dojo came first, but it is rather important lore that the Wasabis and Black Dragons have been feuding for years. Rudy goes on to say that in the midst of the turmoil, a mysterious stranger named Jack High arrived in the village. Jack High's introduction mirrors Jack's introduction in the pilot, with him riding on a skateboard and getting stopped by a mall cop. Though this time around, Joan is the one that stops him, since she wasn't in the show at the time of the pilot. Meanwhile, the oppressive rule of the Black Dragons enforces strict laws prohibiting any form of fun or joy in the village. Despite the oppressive atmosphere, the villagers, including Jack High and Kim Yi, continue to resist and defy the Black Dragon's rule. They engage in acts of rebellion such as skateboarding and standing up against unjust taxes imposed by the Black Dragons. I don't think skateboards existed back then. Jack High's martial arts skills catches the attention of the villagers, especially when he defends them against the enforcers of the Black Dragons. It's revealed that Jack High has a personal vendetta against the Dragons, as they destroyed his village and banished his family. As Jack High becomes entwined with the lives of the villagers, particularly Kim Yi and her friends, together they form a bond and a sense of family, united in their quest to overthrow the tyranny of the Black Dragons. However, their efforts attract the attention of the Dragons, who intensify their pursuit of Jack High and his allies.
We're getting crushed out there. The Dragon's Eye makes him too powerful.
Guys, there's only one thing that's stronger than the Dragon's Eye. Family.
Despite facing overwhelming odds, Jack High and his allies refuse to back down, so they stand together against the forces of darkness, ultimately defeating the Black Dragons and restoring peace to the village.
From this day forward, let's swear by the light of the Dragon's Eye to be loyal and honest and never say die. Wasabi!
In the aftermath of their victory, Jack High and Kim Yi's blossoming romance culminates under the cherry blossom trees, symbolizing a love that will endure for eternity. The villagers celebrate their newfound freedom and unity, honoring the legacy of the first Wasabi warriors who brought peace to their land. This is the dumbest way to end a TV show season, bruh. Y'all stop saying the Wasabi Code like an early season 2 anyway. I don't care about its origins. And to spend an entire episode on this? I'm sorry. I struggled with coming up with stuff to say because I really don't care. These are my least favorite kinds of episodes, honestly. Like, you know those ones where they try to tell a story, but they use the same actors to play those characters in the story? Like, y'all remember that Boston Tea Party episode of Sweet Life? Those kind of episodes. Like, no disrespect to the writers or whatever, but I might speak for most of the community when I say that the first 17 minutes of this episode truly do not matter in the grand scheme of things. That's why I kind of just ran through it, because like I know the real interesting bits about this episode come from the final 3 minutes or so. So let's talk about it. Once he's done with the story, Rudy reiterates that no matter where life takes them, they will always be connected by the Wasabi Code. So in light of this, the gang does this.
One final wasabi?
Wasabi!
Oh, same old, what's up with you?
Everyone says their final goodbyes and hugs it out. After everyone else leaves, Jack bows down to his mentor, sensei, and big brother, Rudy. They shake hands once again, and Jack heads out. You can tell that they wanted this scene to be super meaningful because they didn't filter out any of the background noise like usual. Like, you can totally hear all the static in the scene, and I feel like that might have been done on purpose. My favorite part of this episode is this cool shot of Jack leaving the dojo as 4 new kids run in to presumably take their place. That's a hard shot right there. That's like one of the only cool things about this episode. Jack questions if Rudy will be okay without them, but as they glance over to see him training the new students, Kim realizes that he'll be just fine.
Looks like my ride's here. I love you guys. Yo! What it do, Coco?
This would have been such a hard send-off for Jerry if it wasn't for season 4 existing. It sums up his character perfectly. Jack then asks if Milton could give him and Kim a minute alone, and he agrees.
You know, Jack, they say you never forget your first love, and I know I never will.
Yeah. She talking about Brett Flavors, y'all. Jack holds Kim's hands and reminds her that no matter where they go, they'll always be connected. How many times are they gonna say that in this episode? Anyway, they kiss or whatever, and Jack and Kim get all giddy inside. I'm pretty sure it's implied that this is their first kiss, too. You know, it's interesting, the difference between Nickelodeon and Disney relationships. Because, like, for instance, Jack and Kim have been dating almost all season, yet this is their first kiss, despite the fact that they've known each other for like 3 years. Carly, on the other hand, will meet a dude and immediately start making out with him off rip, to the point where it's almost uncomfortable. I mean, Carly kissed Freddie while they were home alone and while on his bed. That would never happen in a Disney show, ever. Disney uses kissing scenes a lot more sparingly, and I think some of it is due to the fact that obviously Disney tries to keep things cleaner, and I think iCarly leaned more towards teen show territory than kids show, but it is still interesting nonetheless. And to make the scene even more impactful, cherry blossom petals began to fall from the sky, to reference something that happened in the story from earlier. I don't know.
When you look at it, think of me.
You know full well Jack ain't keeping that, bruh. Kim walks away as the two seemingly commit to a long-distance relationship. They never officially break up, but they are in fact leaving each other, so it was a bit open-ended. Milton goes up to Jack and daps him up. Then Principal Thunderbird pulls up out of nowhere and asks if they're ready to leave. A helicopter flies over them and drops those ladder thingies. I don't know what they're called. In classic Kickin' It fashion, Milton falls off it though and tells Jack he'll just meet him there. And the episode, the season, and technically the series ends. Alright, so unless you're like, I don't know, stupid, this was obviously intended to be the series finale of Kickin' It. I really don't have to spell this one out for you. No season finale of the series ends like this. They move out of the dojo, Kim moves to Japan, Jerry moves to Kenya, and Jack and Milton go to Washington to become spies. That was originally how the series was supposed to end, which leads me to the point that I have been talking about since the start of the video, when I recapped episode 1. Spyfall, or at least a version of it, was supposed to be the future of Kickin' It. At some point in time, a Kickin' It spinoff based off of those 2 episodes was supposed to happen, hence why they ended season 3 the way they did, and hence why Return of Spyfall was made. If you look back at Return of Spyfall, there are some things about it that makes it stick out more than other episodes. For instance, there is no B-plot. We spend the entire episode focusing on Milt, Jack, Thunderbird, and new characters Shane and Gray. If you notice, Shane and Gray got a lot more exposition dumps than your average one-and-done characters. Shane's dad is the greatest spy ever, but he hates him or something. Gray's dad was a magician, but she used to be in juvie and whatnot. Return of Spyfall was definitely supposed to be a backdoor pilot to that spinoff. Now, let's try to gather as much information as we can to support this, yeah? In this Dylan Riley Snyder interview, he reveals that the cast of Kickin' It were in tears, hugging it out on set because they did not know season 3 would be the last season, or not.
Probably our last day on set that we had. You know, we don't know anything about if we're going again or whatnot. So we all got in this nice group hug, and we were all just hanging there, and like nobody knew what to do. So they were like, "Do we like go and interrupt them? No, just let them have their moments." For like 10 minutes, we were just like hugging each other, like, "I love you guys, I love you so much." And we
Which means that when this episode was written, they didn't know either, obviously. So they wanted to spend some time together because although Leo and Dylan potentially had a spinoff worked out, they weren't going to be on set with each other ever again. Potentially, at least. Now, as for confirmation on if Spyfall was going to become a series, as far as I could find, there was no article saying that one was in development. However, Remember when I said I had reached out to Scotty Dun, aka Shane, for some information? Well, I had asked him on if he had heard anything about a Kickin' It spinoff, and he responded back saying, "Hi, Mr. Nostalgia. I can confirm that there was talk of expanding Kickin' It into a spinoff as a spy series. Obviously, it never happened, but there was a time where it almost did, and Return of Spyfall was sort of like a backdoor pilot for that idea. Scotty, if you're watching this, shout out to you, man. Thank you so much for giving me closure on this story." Check out his channel, guys. So yeah, there you go. I think the vibe on set during the filming of this episode was, hey guys, regardless if the spinoff happens or not, this will probably be the end. So they went in with that mindset. I have more to add about this topic, but I kind of want to wait until I talk about season 4 before I dive deeper into it. I got to get back on track to talk about this episode. So anyway, yeah, I don't like it at all. I think it's stupid. Forgetting about the whole Wasabi Warrior flashback thing, it does not make sense to me that Kim would want to engage in a relationship with Jack, knowing that she was also contemplating going to the Otai Academy in Japan. Kim trying to choose between Jack or going to the academy should have been a subplot throughout season 3. To just shoehorn it in out of nowhere isn't a good choice in my opinion. Don't tell me it's impossible either. I remember Good Luck Charlie doing that with Teddy when she was thinking about going to college. However, with that being said, I'm not mad at where they sent the characters, honestly. Jerry going to a zoo in Kenya because apparently he's really good at researching monkeys came out of nowhere, but I do like that they gave Jerry, the dumb character, something for him to do. Kim going to Otai is fine if it didn't come out of nowhere, and Milton and Jack going to Washington to become spies. I mean, it seems Jack accepted this before he knew where Kim was ending up, so I think it is out of character for him to want to be a spy instead of staying in Seaford with his friends and girlfriend. The only reason why I say this is because last time Jack was faced with an opportunity to leave Seaford for something greater, he said no because he wanted to be with his friends. Mind you, he wasn't even dating Kim at the time. Is going to Washington to become a spy a better option than going to the greatest martial arts academy in the world to follow your dream of becoming a better karate student? Not to me. I mean, I think spies are great, but like Jack was a martial arts student for the longest and he cares so much about karate. The spy thing just kind of came out of nowhere and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll do it." I just don't see Jack making that choice. The ending isn't bad. I just think it's rushed and really came out of nowhere. That goes for all of the characters. Now, it is also important to bring up how Rudy basically stays the same, only this time he has new kids to teach and a foster son now, which is cool. I'm sure he can still hang out with Phil and Joan and Bobby, but he's definitely going to miss those original Wasabi Warriors. Season 3 of Kickin' It definitely is not my favorite. So far out of the 3 that I've covered, I'd say it's the worst one. Although this season added new elements to each character like Jack working at the dojo, Rudy gaining a new son, and Jerry working at the zoo. The episodes as a whole felt much less inspired. It did not have that same classic Kickin' It vibe, even with there being episodes that focus on karate. They really had some dumb episodes this season, man. With that being said, we did also get the Spyfall stuff this year, and both episodes were pretty solid. Makes me wish we actually got that spinoff. And of course, I have to mention Kim and Jack's relationship. You know, there is something ironic about Disney XD being so boy-oriented, yet the reason why their biggest show is remembered so well is because of the romance subplot that was heavily followed by girls. I don't think people realize how much of a female following this show had, and a lot of it had to do with the shipping. From my memory, Kickin' It is the only Disney XD series to lean heavily into shipping culture. Girls watched the show, well, 1, for Leo Howard, and 2, because they were heavily interested in the romance. Some YouTube videos back then, whether they were AMVs or just scenes from episodes with the 2 characters, would even go on to get millions of views. If you take the romance out of this show, it's not remembered as well. I promise you. It might not even get 4 seasons. But no, they were smart by slowly brewing, because that's Jack's last name, slowly brewing this relationship between them. And well, what did I think about their relationship? Well, for a Disney show, I thought it was fine. I just think it was kind of handled strangely. There were multiple moments where I had to question if these characters were dating or not. It seemed like they just kept retconning stuff over and over again just to postpone their eventual relationship. If you follow production order, the 2 characters first started dating in episode 11 of season 3. The next 3 episodes, if my memory serves me correctly, don't even mention them being a couple. Matter of fact, they hardly even interact in those 3 episodes. They finally spend time together in Seaford, We Have a Problem, but the plot wasn't really focused on them. In Mamma Mima, they spend most of the episode apart. In Temple of Doom, they spend time together, but it's really more so of a Jerry-centric storyline. Faulty Temple actually focuses on their relationship heavy, but then in the very next episode, Jack and Kim share about maybe 30 seconds of screen time together. Queen of Carts is a pretty normal episode in the sense that they do spend their time together and they talk about their relationship, so that's nice, I guess. And then in the next one after, they interact for like the first minute, and that's it. And then there's a finale, which we just talked about. So I say all of this to say that there are maybe 4 episodes this season out of 22 that actually show them as a couple. Now see, I don't care about these two dating, so it doesn't bother me. Matter of fact, I'm happy if they didn't make it a huge part of the series. But like, was it really worth the wait? Are they really one of Disney's best couples? I don't know. Y'all gotta let me know how you feel about that. And so they did all of that just to have them leave each other in the season 3 finale. I know at the time they thought they'd probably end the series there, so they did what they felt they had to do, but still, y'all gotta let me know how you feel about that. But yeah, season 3 of Kickin' It was a bit of a tough watch at times. It did have a few gems, but overall, nah, it gets a no from me.
Welcome to the state of martial arts. Even when you're outnumbered, outmatched, or just out of town on business, you always have the element of surprise. Kickin' It, the new season premiere, Monday, February 17th, only on Disney XD.
Here we are, folks, the final season of Kickin' It. Boy, oh boy, where do I begin? Well, remember when I said that they were not quite sure if season 3 of Kickin' It would be the last one or not? Well, obviously the planned spinoff ended up getting canceled and we did get another season of Kickin' It. Oftentimes, there is a large gap of nothing when the cast and crew members are waiting to find out if their show got picked up or not. And I think Disney XD and others as well were really confident that season 3 would be the last of the show, because boy, do we feel the effects of said confidence. Real quick, just to interject this here, I found this interview with Dylan Riley Snyder where he states that none of the cast expected season 4 to happen, and when they got that call a month after filming, they were pretty surprised.
Well, new season of Kickin' It. It's season 4. Crazy. We didn't expect to go this long. We said our goodbyes and that was it. And then we get a call about a month later being like, yeah, season 4? Kind of had a little question mark at the end of that. You're like, oh my gosh.
Just thought I'd shove that out. Just thought I'd shove that in there real quick. Anyway, season 4 is drastically different from the first 3 seasons in almost every way. One of the biggest changes they made was that Kim was no longer a main cast member anymore. Now, obviously in the show, it's because she moved to Japan, but the real life explanation, as I'm sure you guys are aware, Olivia Holt ended up doing I Didn't Do It, another Disney series, but this time on the main channel. It's hard to find any concrete evidence to support this, but given what we know, I don't think it's as simple as saying Olivia Holt left Kickin' It. Her contract was up and she was able to get another role elsewhere as the lead of her own show. The only reason why it looked like she left was because from our perspective, season 4 of Kickin' It only aired a month after season 3 wrapped up. But to her, she thought the show was done, so she got another role on another show.
Where were you when you got the news that it got picked up?
I was actually on the set of Kickin' It, and so it was kind of awesome. I had the family that I've been working with for 3 years kind of with me to celebrate, so that was a lot of fun. And I called my other cast members, and I was like, you guys, I'm so happy, and so I'm really, really excited, and it's going to be a fun adventure.
But then the series came back to the surprise of the cast, including her, but it was too late. So although Olivia does appear in 3 episodes this season, she is no longer a main character. But I think by far the funniest change that the series made was that the show no longer takes place at the Seaford Strip Mall. They come up with this stupid reasoning to explain why everyone has moved to a different part of Seaford, even Falafel Phil, and I'll explain it more later when I actually cover some of the episodes. But I genuinely think they were so confident that Kickin' It wasn't coming back that they destroyed the original sets. Because the only set that we've seen before that they actually keep is the Spyfall one that we saw from Return of Spyfall. If you're wondering what happened to the school, they just don't go anymore. Now, that's not entirely true. We do see a rebuilt set of the inside of the school for like one episode, and then later we see the outside of the school, but we only go in it once. None of the plots really involve the characters going to school anymore. I'm pretty sure they just destroy the original sets. And so with Kim not being in the show, with them not going to school, or the Bobby Wasabi Dojo, or Falafel Fields, or the Seaford Civic Center, season 4 of Kickin' It never feels like Kickin' It. There are no more episodes like Kickin' It in China, or The Pilot, The Great Escape, or New Jack City, or even Kim of Kong, where karate is a huge focus of at least one of the plots. For most of the 18 episodes in season 4, they really just be doing random stuff. Like, it's to the point where it's hard for me to describe what they're doing in each episode. But some episodes are actually kind of fun and do something. Other episodes are the most slice of life pieces of media that you will ever see. So there are very few episodes this season where I can actually go in depth in. So I mean, I don't know. Like always, we're gonna go by production order. You know how it be. And let's see what we can get cooking.
On a special edition of Show Me the Monday! 2 highly trained teams will be joining forces when the intensity of martial arts collides with the power of bionics. It will show you the Monday like never before. The new season of Kickin' It. The new season of Lab Rats. With this much premiere in one night, your butt's gonna kick itself. A Show Me the Monday special edition premieres Monday, February 17th, only on Disney XD.
In Season 4, Episode 1, aka The Boys Are Back in Town, it is revealed through a scene with Rudy and Joan that Rudy has opened up his own dojo called the Wasabi Warrior Academy, which is found at the Seaford Pier. This is the place I was telling you about earlier, the place where the entirety of Season 4 takes place. Because like I said, I'm pretty sure they destroyed the original set, so this is what we're working with now. A little later, we see that Jerry is back from Kenya, apparently, with much longer hair, might I add. Rudy goes to him and says that he just received an email from Kim, but the whole thing is in Japanese. Oh wait, no, Rudy is just stupid. Kim says that she both loves him and misses him. She also congratulates him on opening the new dojo. Jerry says he understands Kim going to Otai, but can't quite understand Milton and Jack doing extra schoolwork during the summer in Washington. Yeah, so Milton and Jack are still spies, in case you forgot about that, but their cover is that they're actually just studying in Washington at an academy since they can't tell anyone about their spy adventures. We then go to the intro, and wow, this thing is depressing. Because of the fact that we are now down 2 cast members of this show, the Kickin' It intro has been shortened by like maybe 10 seconds. And then there's this super sad shot of the remaining characters. Like, dude, this is rough. The show fell off so bad. No Kim, no Eddie, just these 4 guys. I mean, hey, Disney XD was for the boys, right? Well, there you go. You got your boys show. Not a single girl in sight. Anyway, we head back to the spy lair, and Funderburg reveals that with Rash no longer a threat, there's no need for the team. So he tells Shane, Jack, and Milton that they can head home. Funderburg says goodbye and is having a hard time with getting the words together, so he just hugs them. By the way, I forgot to mention this, but Jason Earls is the producer of the show now, so that's cool. Milton and Jack arrive back in Seaford, and Rudy welcomes them. He explains that he and Phil went in on a lottery ticket together, hence how he was able to afford making his own dojo. But he later clarifies that while at a carnival scratching said lottery ticket, a Ferris wheel broke, which led to Phil and Rudy falling and injuring themselves badly. The company said they pay them a boatload of money if they didn't sue. He used half of the money to open up the dojo, while Phil opened up a shop of his own, Phil's Bowl and Burger. Are you kidding? His name was Falafel Phil for the longest. In no way is a bowl and burger place his dream, man. Stop it. That brother is a falafel man first, everything else last. Those sets definitely got destroyed, man. Ain't no way. Phil and Jerry are shocked to see Jack and Milton back from Washington. Jerry says that he missed them and points out that he is now the manager of Phil's Bowl and Burger. And I'm sure that is going swell. Funderburg sends a message to Milton claiming that he needs them both in Washington, and it's an emergency. So the two head to the new dojo to watch the video message.
I need your help. There was one rash agent we didn't know about, and he's recruiting new people. The jet copter is on the way to pick you up.
It appears that this episode would have been more appropriately titled The Return of Spyfall, because this story still somehow is not done. Milton and Jack head back to Washington only to find out that Shane was the traitor. Because why not at this point, I guess. Shane says he's doing this because he wants everyone to finally see that he is better than them. And I'm like, who exactly is everyone? It's a secret organization, big dog. You're talking about 12, maybe 15 people tops. But you know what? This is kind of in line with Shane. I definitely see his character doing this. My one question though is, where is Gray during all of this? Like, she would have totally been on Jack and Milton's side. They kind of fumble too, because I actually did like her character. I would have preferred a Spyfall spinoff over this malarkey. The three get locked up by Shane in a big fat cage that they have in the lair for whatever reason. But thanks to a special magnet watch that coincidentally gets introduced earlier in this episode, they're able to grab a special laser pen that would allow them to escape. But before they get too far into the process, Shane interrupts them and claims that 20 seconds after he presses this big fat button, they will all blow up, along with the lair.
Your baked potato will be ready in 20 seconds.
That's the microwave button. The self-destruct button's the brown one. Thunderbird.
Shane presses the actual button and walks away. But just then though, the three are able to finish their sweet escape, which lasts for about 3 seconds before Shane and the other rogue agents come in to take them out. And well, you know what happens next. The roof starts caving in, but Jack and Shane are still throwing hands with each other. I ain't gonna lie, bro. My man Scotty Dun is killing it with these action sequences. He's cooking, for real, for real. Milton helps Jack out and kicks Shane to the ground. Oh, snap! That man got knocked out. See, me personally, I would have left him. But you know how Jack is. He's the good guy, yada, yada, yada. So he grabs Shane before the building gets destroyed. Live to die another day, Shane. It just won't be on this show because we never see you again after this episode, unfortunately. And you know what, man? That's tough because I actually really like Shane's character. He's funny both intentionally and unintentionally. If it wasn't for the whole turning evil thing, I feel like he would have been a great addition to the cast. He has a nice dynamic with Milton and Jack that had a lot more potential. Thunderbird thanks the duo for saving them and says that Shane and his boys will be locked up for a long time. He says goodbye to the students as another character enters the realm of forgotten Kickin It characters, or RAFK for short. And to wrap the episode up, Jack and Milton question if this place will ever feel like home since so much has changed. And that's when they walk in on Jerry and Rudy doing something. And that's when they realize that everything will be just like the way it was, except it's not because this season is dog water. Okay, so although I am not a fan of this season, I do think this was a solid way to start it. Sure, they kind of shoehorned in a random solution to the Spyfall thing, but I didn't mind it. I understand that you can't always do the stories that you want to do on television for one reason or another. As for how this sets up the rest of the season, well, we now know why the entire show takes place in a different location now. Is it stupid? Yeah. What, did you think I was going to say something else after? Nah, it's just that. It's stupid. I don't know what to tell you. I will say, though, it seems like Rudy no longer has Sam with him anymore. He isn't referenced or shown in season 4 at all. So you know what that means. I wish I could tell you that the rest of season 4 is like this, but it's not. You thought season 3 had some mediocre plots, but they were really scraping the bottom of the barrel with this one. Season 4 of Kickin It honestly takes away more than it adds, which is interesting. There are very few episodes of this season that genuinely matter, that are must-watches for this season. The characters don't advance much in karate anymore. The show in general isn't about karate much anymore. It's really just about the characters doing side quests. One of these episodes is Are We There Yet?
The brand new season of Kickin It smells like
cat vomit, sweat, and pickles.
No.
I'm gonna go with jetpacks.
Close, but we actually meant brand new action.
Oh, you're fighting a ficus.
Brand new romance. Brand new nicknames.
I'm the Pinhead, and this is Splits Malone.
And a mystery.
That it was Donovan.
That's so mysterious.
You know who it was? Kowalski.
It will leave you mystified.
Classic Kowalski.
Who is Kowalski? You won't find out on Kickin It. Brand new tonight at 8/7 Central on Disney XD.
The episode revolves around Rudy's attempt to mend the strained relationship between Milton and Jack by taking them on a road trip in an old RV. Because this worked so well when Grandpa Max did it for Ben and Gwen, right? Thing is though, I'm a little surprised that it's Milton and Jack that are having these issues. They usually always got along in this show. If Jack would argue with anyone, it would be Jerry. I guess you could, however, make the argument that because of all the time the two have spent together as spies, they started to bond a little too much, which led to all of these issues. Despite Rudy's best efforts, tensions continue to rise between the two, which leads to a heated argument that makes Rudy leave them stranded in the wilderness overnight. While stranded, Milton and Jack realize the importance of their friendship and work together to come up with a plan to rescue Rudy, who is stuck in the RV dangling over a cliff. With the help of an inflatable nature napper, they manage to save Rudy and squash the beef. Hooray! They're friends again. Yippee even. Yippee even. And in case you were wondering what Jerry was up to, he and Jones stumble upon Babe Ruth's... He and Jones stumble across Babe Ruth's lucky jockstrap in a storage locker they purchased at an auction. They plan to sell it for a hefty sum, but end up breaking it in a scuffle. Babe Ruth is rolling in his grave right now. They too also realize the value of friendship and makeup or whatever.
We have something that they can never take away from us.
Our friendship?
Forget that. My jelly bean pooping donkey.
Alright, never mind then. The episode ends with Rudy getting punched by a bear. See what I mean? Nothing too crazy. Something light, if you will. I mean, yeah, the action sequence had a CGI RV, but you know what else had a CGI RV? The movie RV. And I don't want to talk about that movie either, so I think I'm just gonna forget this episode happened. I'm kind of scarred from movies and TV show episodes with CGI RVs.
Monday's about to cut loose. Show me the Monday! Show off that sky-high kick.
Hey, Black Falcon.
Flash that nerd alert.
Laser blade out!
Dance that party animal out.
Whoa, whoa, whoa!
All new Mighty Med, kicking it and wander over yonder. Getting down with your bad Monday self. Brand new next Monday night at 8/7 Central on Disney XD.
There is also the episode Nerd with a Cape. Huh, I wonder why it's called that.
Laser blade out!
Yeah, that makes sense. In the A-plot of the episode, Milton skips school in order to attend the superhero convention. His main concern is making sure nobody recognizes him, so he decides to wear his costume the entire time, instead of changing into it later. But on his way to the convention, he notices a woman who's been in this show before, actually, standing right under a falling fake swordfish. So, like an actual superhero, Milton rushes in to grab her, and she's very grateful. So Milton, or as they call him, the Laser Blade, becomes a local hero and gains a lot of attention. Milton's faced with an interesting situation. If he comes clean as the Laser Blade, he'll get $500 from the newspaper as a thanks. But at the same time, if he does come clean, it'll get revealed that he skipped school. Milton's such a nerd, man. You gotta chase the bag, always. So we have a bit of a Hatching Pete situation. Since Milton doesn't want to reveal himself, Jerry decides to take the credit instead. Milton gets mad at Jerry, but Disney XD shenanigans occur, which leads to Jerry almost dying and Milton attempting to save his life.
Milton, hurry up, I'm slipping!
One could say that Jerry is losing his grip. Milton grabs him and they both make their way back down. This leads to Milton coming clean as the Laser Blade and nobody really caring anymore. He did end up getting detention though, but he apparently loved it because he had 3 extra hours to do homework and do other people's homework. So good for him. The B-plot, however, is actually a little bit more important because we meet Replacement Kim, aka Taylor. She is a new student from the Swarthmore Academy that's paired with Jack in Science Clash. She's played by Veronica Dunn, who would go on to be in Casey Undercover. Things don't get off to a great start between the two after Jack ruins their science experiment. Fortunately for Jack though, he never has to see her again. Just kidding, she starts working at the new smoothie bar in the dojo, and neither of them are happy about it. Later, when Jack accidentally sticks his hand in a cherry pie, he reaches for something to wipe his hands with. But the thing he actually grabs is Taylor's cashmere sweater. And when Taylor gets mad about it and confronts him, Jack says,
Swarthmore, I'm pretty sure a rich girl like you can afford another stupid scarf.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Jack has never been this mean or careless. You guys remember how nice season 1 Jack was? Even season 2? Another reason why I'm not a fan of the later seasons of Kickin' It is that Jack's character starts to lean more towards handsome jock than thoughtful leader. He also starts to become more self-absorbed, and I'm really not a fan of it. I mean, look, if I looked like Leo Howard when I was 16, I'd probably be self-absorbed too, but it's very weird seeing Jack act like this.
You think I'm a juice jockey because it's fun? My dad's company went out of business and I have to help my family out.
Oh, yeah? Well, I did not know that when I was being mean to you.
Nah, that ain't it, y'all.
Nope, this ain't Jack. Sorry, Jack will never be this mean, even if it's to a girl from a rivaling school. Now, Kim, sure, I could totally see Kim doing this, but they really did fumble Jack's character in this season. But yeah, Taylor's broke now, so she has to work at the juice bar to help her parents. And I would say, from this point on, she becomes a main character in season 4, but she only really has 2 other appearances after this. I think at the time, they might have tried to use her as a Kim replacement, since now she's in the dojo and she's blonde, but ultimately they realized no one can really take Olivia Holt's place, so they scrapped the character. I also think Casey Undercover probably went into production around this time, so yeah, that could also be another reason. Later, Jack feels really bad about what happened the previous day, so he gets her another cashmere sweater. He also says that because of the fact she is from Swarthmore, he misjudged her.
And I want to let you know that it's not that I don't like you because you came from money. I don't like you because you're annoying.
It's crazy because if you watch their first scene together again, she really isn't all that annoying. Matter of fact, it's Jack that was causing all of the issues. So this subplot, although entertaining, doesn't really work for me because I'm not on Jack's side for once. He's acting incredibly out of character. And if things couldn't get any worse, he uses Taylor's tip jar to buy her the scarf. That is not Jack. And this is one of the reasons why season 4 is kind of doo-doo. So yeah, I don't really like this episode very much. The A plot is mid, the B plot is a bit better, but falls short due to some uncharacteristic acting from Jack. And overall, I simply just think the show's glory days are behind it.
Show me the Monday. A new Mighty Man switching up the identities. Awesome. A new Lab Rats is amping up the zip power. A new Kickin' It is wrenching up the engines. And Crash is totally stepping out the snot rocket. Cranking it up to show you what's going down. Coming through. Get ready for a zip trip. Next Monday night at 7:30, 6:30 Central on Disney XD.
Kickin' It Season 4 feels so far removed from the first 3 seasons that it feels weird when an important plot point or character from the past gets brought up again. We feel this odd sensation in the episode The Stang, where Milton's ex-girlfriend Julie, played by Hannah Lee, makes her final appearance. She first appeared in the Season 1 episode of Clash of the Titans and dated Milton until Season 3, where they had an off-camera breakup. Now she is back, and apparently with a new boyfriend. I didn't get the chance to mention this in the first part of the video, mostly because I didn't know at the time, but Hannah Lee also played that one girl that went to Maddie's camp from Sweet Life Season 3. So that's pretty cool. Milton wants to get Julie back, and so since Julie's new boyfriend has a car, he thinks the key to getting her back is by going to the same party she's going to in an even nicer one. So he and Jerry spend time outside before school begging people to let them use their cars. It's not until Milton's dad pulls up in a fire vintage automobile when Jerry realizes that they can just use his car without him knowing. Milton is hesitant at first, but when he thinks about potentially getting back with Julie, he agrees. But on their way there, they make a stop to wipe a mosquito splat off their window and to use the bathroom. But they are absolutely positively flabbergasted when they find out that their car has been stolen. Milton's first thought is to call his dad and admit to lying about going to the library and being responsible for his car getting stolen. As if things couldn't get any better, Julie and her new boyfriend that I refuse to Google the name of pull up. My headcanon is that this is actually just Brett Flavors from season 2. Bro fumbled Kim, so now he's with Julie. Milton explains the situation that he's in and asks for a ride. But when Brett Flavors says he's not going to give them a ride, Milton starts going sicko mode and demands one. So he agrees. Since Milton left his phone in the car, he was able to track it using Jerry's phone, allowing them to find the location of the stolen car. So when they arrive at the chop shop, Milton comes up with a plan to pose as a worker, but when Jerry accidentally blows his cover, the gang actually engage in a fighting sequence for once this season.
No, not the car!
Oh, man.
During the sequence, Julie asks Brett Flavors for help, but Brett don't know karate like that, so he runs away, and Milton comes in and saves her. This leads to Julie immediately falling for Milton again, but Milton says,
Unfortunately for you, I don't date girls anymore. I mean, I date women.
That is probably one of the best jokes this show has ever had. Milton and Jerry end up going to the party in his dad's car, where they meet Cameron from Ant Farm. Hey, real quick, y'all ever see that one short film? Nah, let me stop. Milton's dad texts Milton saying he's stopping by the library to give him some snacks, so they rush over there so they don't get caught. And the episode ends with the two getting introduced to two new girls, which wraps up the 4-season-long storyline of Milton and Julie. Bye, Julie. I'll miss you. Kinda. And in case you were wondering what's happening in the B plot,
flap your arms, flap your wings, float like a butterfly.
don't. This episode isn't actually that bad. I don't mind it. They finally took advantage of the fact that these characters are older now. And Julie got a pretty cool send-off, which is nice because she was always one of my favorite side characters. Milton and Jerry were always one of my favorite duos in this show, so it was cool to see them interact for an entire A plot. I'm not gonna acknowledge the B plot though. That never happened as far as I'm concerned. Oftentimes when a TV show is in their final season, they do what I like to call why not episodes. This is when the writers of a show take advantage of the fact that it's ending to make random and otherwise unfitting episodes that normally would not happen. One of my favorite TV shows is Psych, and they did some really odd stuff in its final season. They even remade an earlier episode from season 1 just because they felt like it wasn't good enough originally. I remember the entire final season of Kirby Buckets was dedicated to this warped storyline where they like travel to different dimensions and stuff. It was really weird, but I do remember liking it. Anyway, this season of Kickin' It has one. They have a few, actually, and the first one that we will be talking about is Kickin' It in the Office. There's a channel called Black Belt TV, apparently that's coming to Seaford to film a day in the life of a dojo. So, Rudy tells them to act 100% natural. He then unzips his jacket to reveal his fake, very not natural abs. After the intro, we're greeted by some aerial shots of Seaford, accompanied by some very The Office sounding music. That's right, today's episode of Kickin' It is a parody of The Office, a TV show that I've never seen, so I probably won't pick up on too many references outside of the fact that this entire episode is one. We even see an Office-like logo. In my opinion, they should have committed to the Office bit by getting rid of the laugh track, but I guess that would have been too much. There are two main conflicts in this episode. Jack wanting to be promoted to sensei, something that finally gets tested in season 3, and Milton and Jerry having a pranking war. Jack tells Rudy that he's ready to become a sensei and wants to take the test, and Rudy isn't too thrilled to hear that.
Oh, it is a proud day when your student rises to the same level you are. Sensei Rudy with Sensei Jack. Just two big old senseis. Not one ahead of the other, but equal.
I take that back. They do actually tone down the laugh track, which is nice. Rudy's ego won't let him appoint Jack to sensei, so he comes up with a bunch of fake things that he needs Jack to do first in order to become one. And after completing all of them, Rudy still doesn't make him a sensei. So Jack decides to contact the Grandmaster who trained Rudy and gave him his black belt. He informs Rudy that he's actually a fraud. The black belt that he gave him is actually just one that he won at a Chinese food restaurant, which means that Rudy is still technically a white belt. And Jack takes advantage of the situation to tell Rudy that he is now in charge, making him head sensei, since Bobby Wasabi gave him his belt, and it's 100% genuine. Later, the Grandmaster reveals that he agreed to team up with Jack just to get back at Rudy, who once pranked him with a whoopee cushion. What a mature response to this. Jack is soaking in all of his newfound power, but as it turns out, the lights were brighter than expected, as he's tasked with a bunch of new assignments since he's in charge. Thing is though, isn't Rudy still the owner of the dojo? Being a sensei doesn't mean you have to take care of stuff like this, right?
Anyway, my boss needs you to sign this new I-49.
Your boss? Yes, the mall manager. Her name is Emily. She's actually my wife.
Ex-wife.
Your license to operate a business has expired. You'll need to talk to Gary at City Hall.
I don't know Gary. Emily knows Gary. Okay.
This is probably one of the best stretches of jokes Kickin' It has ever had. Wasn't really expecting to hear that in this show. Good comedic moment. Things just get worse and worse for Jack as the time goes on in the episode, to the point where he stops Rudy from leaving the dojo and begs for his help. He comes clean and says that he told the Grandmaster to come to the dojo to pretend to be a fraud, meaning Rudy is 100% an actual black belt, and the ownership of the dojo should go back to him. Jack apologizes and says that any reasons he may have to hold him back from becoming a sensei will be respected by him. And then we actually get a surprisingly heartfelt scene.
I do have my reasons. If I made Jack a sensei, then he wouldn't need me anymore. He'd try to fly out of the nest. That's what baby birds do. They think they can dig up their own worms. Well, I want to be the man to give Jack worms. Am I afraid I'll lose Jack? Sure. I mean, it's just that... You know what? I'm sorry, there's something I need to do.
Rudy goes to Jack and talks to him about something. We never actually hear the conversation, but it's safe to assume that he told him his real reasoning as to why he didn't want to give Jack the sensei role. And the episode ends with Jack finally becoming a sensei. See, this is a real kind of episode that a final season should have. This is real character growth and development. It also wraps up the side story that's been around since season 3 of Jack wanting to become a sensei. And honestly, it was a pretty cool moment to see. Everyone celebrates Jack's new role, and the episode fades out. Although the episode had its ups and downs, this is by far one of the best Rudy and Jack episodes that we have ever seen from this show. It really nailed their relationship and growth as friends. It's just unfortunate that Kim wasn't there to see Jack finally become a sensei. Man. Well, it's a good thing she appears in the next episode, though.
Here's an exclusive behind-the-scenes peek at the Kickin' It Star Wars event.
Action! What's up, guys? We're on the set of Kickin' It. What's up, Disney XD? Shooting a Star Wars
Dream sequence where Jack picks up a lightsaber.
Boom.
That's great.
He's in the middle of this intergalactic showdown,
Facing off against some stormtroopers.
then a Sith puts on a really challenging fight for him.
Get the start of the fight there.
There's a ton of action.
A lot of big stunts. Cut, that was perfect.
It's basically awesome.
You don't want to miss the Kickin' It Star Wars event. Brand new Monday night at 7, 6 Central.
Only on Disney XD.
Alright, so in order to properly explain and I guess justify the existence of this episode, I feel like I have to briefly talk about something that happened a couple years prior and kinda has nothing to do with Kickin' It. In October 2012, Disney purchased the rights to Star Wars and wasted no time getting their greedy little hands all over the franchise. In 2014, we received 3 Star Wars projects on Disney XD. One was that silly little Phineas and Ferb crossover, another was Star Wars Rebels, which I actually quite enjoyed, and we got this weird episode of Kickin' It. All of this was to drum up kid enthusiasm for Star Wars as a franchise, since Force Awakens was right around the corner. Fun fact, but I actually broke my tooth while watching that movie. I'm not gonna tell you how though. And so, now we are here, the Kickin' It Star Wars special. It's a bit of a weird episode too, because like it's one of those episodes where it's not important until it is. Like Milton is trying to get into this college called Oxbridge, an obvious combination of the two schools, Yale and Lafayette, but he finds out the same dudes that were in charge of the frat party he attended that told him he had a good shot at getting in are actually thieves. Matter of fact, they stole a lightsaber from a display held at the Seaford Pier. Milton is faced with the tough decision of letting them resell the lightsaber for $20,000 so he can get into his dream school, or do the right thing and tell the police what they did. Milton obviously did the latter, and with the help of Rudy and Joan, was successfully able to take them down and bring them to justice. I'm gonna be real with you though, we don't care about none of that, respectfully. The actual important part of the episode lies in the B-plot, where Jerry is hyperfixated on this new game in Phil's Bowlenburger, where you can win a dirt bike as long as you can stay on it as it moves back and forth. When he realizes he just doesn't have what it takes to win, he begs Jack to win it for him. However, Jack doesn't really want to. Not because of anything Jerry related, but because he's going to miss a very important video call with Kim. It's important because they're only allowed one call a month, so if he misses this one, he'll have to wait another 30 days or so. Jerry says though that if Kim calls while he's on the bike, he will let him know so he doesn't miss the call. And that's when Jack agrees to help Jerry out. Things are going well for Jack. However, when Kim actually does call, Jerry doesn't let Jack know because of how well things were going for him. Jack, meanwhile, is going through some insane stuff at the moment. And right when he's one more mile away from winning the bike, things start to get a bit more challenging.
I
Oh no, Jack is losing his grip.
Jerry, I'm losing my grip. Jerry, I'm losing my grip. I'm losing my grip. Jerry!
Anyway, Jack looks at some kids dressed in Star Wars attire and starts tweaking and sees Rudy talking to him, telling him to use the Force. And it kind of just works. I don't know. Jack wins the bike for Jerry, but their celebration is quickly ruined by Jack realizing Jerry fumbled the bag and didn't let him know about Kim calling. Yikes. And rightfully so, he's very mad. Jerry realized the mistake that he made though and tries to fix things. So he managed to arrange another face call meeting with Kim. But when Jack tries to turn on the computer, he realized that he can only hear Kim
and not see her.
Then, a surprise to us all, when Kim shows up in person and greets Goat Milk. Hold on, you telling me Tootsie's still alive? Where's she at? Man, I don't care about Kim. Get her off my screen. Tootsie, where you at? Not for real though. Kim shows up and everyone starts cheering. And I will say, it was really nice seeing her because the show truly is not the same without her. Jack hugs her and Kim explains that Jerry sold his motorcycle and bought her a round trip ticket from Japan. So I know things were probably different 10 years ago, but if you're wondering how much those tickets cost, we're looking at least $900. And this does add up because some dirt bikes are legitimately pretty expensive. So it works to some extent. Jerry sincerely apologizes for what he did, and Jack, of course, accepts it. So back to the A-plot for a second. The episode ends with the lightsaber being returned and Milton pulling up dressed as CP3. That's a joke, relax, it's CP3O, I know. CP3 is Chris Paul. Kim says that she has to get going, and Jack asks her if it's at all possible for her to stay one more day.
Hey, even though we're like 6,000 miles away.
Are they? Oh, not bad. Jack and Kim hug as Olivia Holt walks back to the I Didn't Do It set.
Can you teach me to use the Force so I can win more stuff?
The Force isn't for winning stuff. It's a spiritual power you feel deep inside you when you've got something to fight for.
So wait, does the Force just like actually exist in the Disney Channel universe? That's quite interesting if you think about it. I mean, considering both Rudy and Jerry have tapped into unnatural forces in this series, it does kind of make you think. Anyway, and probably the most random thing you will hear me say in this video, Jack starts remembering what Rudy said about using the Force when you have something to fight for. And we get an entire single camera Star Wars dream sequence with decent cinematography, fight choreography, and visual effects. Like, genuine time and effort was put into this thing, and it's kinda impressive for a Disney show. Jack uses the Force and other Star Wars stuff to take on some stormtroopers. But the craziest thing about this scene to me is how violent it truly gets. Like, Jack genuinely does kill the stormtroopers here. He even stabs one straight through the chest, which blew my mind because I didn't know the show was even allowed to do that. Maybe they got away with it because it's a dream sequence, but that was genuinely surprising. Anyway, I'll just play the rest of the scene. And so whether it was by pure coincidence or something else, Kim's flight gets canceled and she gets to stay in Seaford, presumably with her parents, right? Like, I'd imagine. I mean, she never really mentions them in this episode, but I mean, where else is she gonna stay? So the two hug again, but this time they share a kiss. And I'm sure all the teenage girls watching this started losing their minds. I'm pretty sure I was making tilapia while watching this scene, so I didn't really have much of an opinion on it. And yes, it turned out good because your boy Stalgia knows how to cook. Now you'd think she'd be in the next episode, but like, she's not. Matter of fact, she's not even in the next 7 episodes going by production order.
The next episode is Invasion of the Ghost Pirates,
which aired during a special Disney XD block where weird stuff happened in Mighty Med, Lab Rats, and Kickin' It due to the same lunar eclipse. It's not even a bad episode, to be real with you, it's just the timing of it was weird. Very strange. The episode is kind of just okay. Most of it was average Kickin' It stuff. The pacing of it was kind of weird though, because they had to make room for that, 3-minute Star Wars sequence. And like I said, it was great seeing Kim again. By now though, I think we're all really tired of the Jerry does something stupid to his friend and apologizes, then they make a blah 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 thing every episode. Surely the next episode we talk about won't have such a trope, right? Right?
You know Leo the actor and Leo the martial artist. Now meet Leo the director.
Leo is directing this episode?
Did you say Leo's directing?
Can you hang on?
A director can have many, many jobs. Action.
Understand the story and then visualize how to shoot it.
It's been really cool to watch him put all the pieces together.
He's the guy who's in charge.
Action, action, action. I did hours and hours of homework on this episode.
He's comfortable. He's prepared.
He knows what it's like to be the actor.
See the hard work pay off on a brand new Kickin' It next Monday night at 8, 7 Central on Disney XD.
One thing you'll notice about TV shows that star teenagers is that once they get older, some of them are allowed to do other things on set. Debbie Ryan at one point was a producer of Jesse. Nick Cannon wrote some episodes of All That. Karen Brar, I think that's how you say it, directed some episodes of Bunked, and Jace Norman even directed an episode of Danger Force. I bring this up because Kickin' It has their own example of this with the season 4 episode Fight at the Museum, directed by Leo Howard, not to be confused with the Ben 10 episode Fight at the Museum. This episode features the return of recurring character Sydney, who was one of Milton's nerd friends. It's revealed that he and Milton and some random kid are volunteers at the Seaford Museum because they're nerds. One of the other volunteers is named Chloe, and all the boys are pretty smitten with her. Unfortunately, so is Jerry. So much so that he applies to be a volunteer himself. Milton doesn't believe that Jerry is equipped to be one and knows that he's only interested so he can get closer to Chloe. So to prove his worth, Jerry engages in an ancient samurai quiz with Milton, and he somehow gets every answer correct. This leads Chloe to pick him to work with her as a tour guide. Milton's rather upset by this, so we ask Jerry how he managed to know all that stuff. And he says that in order to pull a girl he's interested in, he's willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means studying history. This is why I always felt like Jerry wasn't actually a dumb character. He just simply doesn't try most of the time. One of my biggest pet peeves with dumb characters in shows like this is when the writers don't give them anything to work with. Drake from Drake and Josh at least had music, but Zach from Sweet Life didn't have anything. The only thing he was good at was picking up girls. They even acknowledge that in the movie, but they don't really spend too much time with it. Good for Jerry that he knows how to lock in when he needs to. Milton's starting to get really annoyed that Jerry and Chloe are spending more time together, so he pushes him into a skeleton display, which causes the hand to fall off. Chloe finds out and gets heated, which leads to both of them getting fired and sent home. However, when the two go back to the museum because they felt bad about Chloe having to clean all that stuff up by herself, they find out that the two men dressed as Einstein and Ben Franklin that work for the museum are actually just thieves in disguise. So, realizing the situation they are now in, they rush in to save Chloe, and not only do they take them down in a fighting sequence, but they also manage to spook them with the help of Sydney and other guy.
Teddy, go call the cops.
Oh, his name is Teddy. That's cool. Oh, and Chloe ends up choosing Sydney over both Jerry and Milton. Hey man, at least Sydney gets a proper send-off. See ya, Sydney! Jerry and Milton apologize to each other, whatever, yada yada yada. We've seen this a bunch of times in the show. The B plot, on the other hand, focuses on Rudy attempting to get on this TV show called What Did You Do?, where they use real people and actors to capture good deeds. So he starts faking scenarios, but doesn't get the attention that he craves. Jack actually does though, because of course he does. This episode isn't very good. It has nothing to do with Leo Howard though. I mean, he's cool, I got no issues with him. He did a good job directing it. It just wasn't very entertaining, respectfully. I remember not too long ago when I was talking about why not episodes. Yeah, this episode right here is like the epitome of one. You know you've run out of ideas when you start parodying It's a Wonderful Life. The episode entitled You Don't Know Jack is centered around Jerry's upcoming black belt test and how unseriously he's taking the training for it. So to motivate him to get it done, Jack enlists one of the best karate students that he knows. Please be Brett Flavors, please be Brett Flavors. Oh, it's Kim. Yay, welcome back, Olivia Holt. And the audience goes crazy. And like, so do the other characters. Like Milton is all like, whoa, I can't believe you came here for the black belt test. Does this imply that Kim actually flew from Japan to Seaford just for this? When I first watched this episode, I was under the impression that she managed to just stay in town, like the ending of Seaford Hustle suggested. That's kind of OD, not gonna lie. Anyway, Kim shows Jerry the training he's going to be doing for the black belt test. Jerry realizes that if that's what he's going to have to do in order to pass, then he's going to have to train harder than he ever has before. But in the next shot, we see that he's just having a dance party. Milton tells him that he should be training for his test with Kim at the park, but Jerry says that since it's Jack doing the test and not Rudy, he's not going to fail him since they're friends. But then...
Let's crank up the music and crank it right back down, people!
Jack scolds Jerry in front of everyone for not taking his test seriously. and for leaving Kim at the park waiting for 2 hours. Because of all this, Jack not only cancels Jerry's test, but also suspends him from the dojo, which makes Jerry upset.
Hey, why is the Jerry sad? Is it because no girls like you, or because you're bad in the schoolyard, or because no girls like you?
No!
Jerry tells Phil that he's sick of Jack's new attitude since he's become a sensei, always thinking he's better than everyone else. I mean, he is, so yeah, that makes sense. Phil, however, thought Jerry was talking about Jack Anderson, someone who works at his restaurant. I only bring this up though because apparently during the first 2 seasons of the show, when they didn't reveal Jack's last name, the fandom came up with one for him, which was Anderson. I have no idea if the writers were aware of this or if it was just a complete coincidence, but it is kind of funny. Ty is also in this episode, and he's been addicted to this whack-a-mole type game that Phil had installed in his restaurant. And
Hey man, I'll rub your feet for a token.
Insert Dan Schneider joke here. Jerry begins playing the game himself to get his anger out and starts genuinely tweaking. He's imagining Jack on why did I say it like that? He's imagining Jack on each individual genie that he has to whack and ends up getting the high score. So the talking genie in the machine asks Jerry what his wish is, and you'll never guess what he says.
Oh, you want to know my wish? I wish Jack had never come to the dojo.
And Jerry dies. We fall down. And that's how the series ends. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, he wakes up in an alternate world where Rudy is no longer a sensei, since Jack never joined the dojo. If you remember, all the way back in episode 1, the main plot was Rudy getting Jack to join the dojo, since at the time it was really bad. So bad that if they didn't win the tournament that was approaching, the dojo was going to shut down. So now, in this new timeline, since Jerry wished Jack never joined the dojo, it actually ended up getting shut down. Meaning now, he and Rudy are masseuses. Fun fact, when I was a kid, I genuinely used to think that the name for people who give massages to other people were called misogynists. Alright, look, I understand now that obviously that's not what that means, but it did kind of make sense in my head back then. Just like how a florist should be the name of someone that installs floors, not someone that handles flowers. Or a candy striper should be the name of someone that puts the red lines on mints, not whatever an actual candy striper is. I don't make the rules, man, I just follow them. Also in this reality, Milton is a hippie and a school dropout, since he couldn't handle the bullying. Phil is basically the same, but Jack and Kim are unfortunately both on the Black Dragons now. They got a little super team over there, golly. Jerry realizes the only way to return to his world is by recreating the accident that sent him there in the first place. So with the help of hippie Milton, he comes up with a plan to distract the Black Dragons by giving them all massages so he can play the genie game that is now in the Black Dragon dojo. The dragons catch on to him though and try to put a stop to him. And the fight scene that breaks out involves Jerry taking on 3 people, aka Ty, Jack, and Kim, at the same time, which of course mirrors the training that he'd have to complete in order to pass the exam. After managing to fight them off for a while playing the game, he ends up getting the high score, which sends him back into our world. But of course, all of this was just one big dream. After Jack finds him knocked out in the restaurant, Jerry realizes how important Jack is to him, and everyone else for that matter, and agrees to take the black belt seriously. And in the next scene, we see all the hard work that Jerry put in while knocked out paid off. And in honestly, one of the best scenes of the show, Jack hands Jerry his black belt and gives him a big ol' hug afterward. I mean it when I say that this is truly one of the best scenes of the show. To think that Jack, who is now a sensei, would be giving Jerry, his best friend, a black belt is pretty sick. It's funny, even though season 4 is arguably the worst season, the little time they spend actually wrapping up the series is actually very well done. Jack becoming a sensei, Jerry getting his black belt, Milton finally moving on from his relationship with Julie, it's all been handled pretty well. It's just that the episodes around these storylines haven't been great. The episode ends with them all throwing a black belt party.
I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but I even missed her dance.
That was nice. No, not the whole episode, just that scene specifically. I'm generally not a big fan of storylines like the one featured in this episode, just because you know how they almost always end. This episode, I guess, handled it better than most, but it was still a bit of a letdown. Outside of Jack giving Jerry his black belt and Kim returning, it still was just lacking that kicking it charm. However, I will say that I am very glad that the episode was karate focused, since we don't have a lot of those in this season. I am honestly running out of things to say about the show, and so instead of rambling on, we might as well just go into the finale.
The dawn of change is upon us.
The taste of victory.
Gotta admit, the man's an artist.
The epic battles. The killer moves. Thank you, Wasabi Warriors.
Holy Christmas
The
nuts!
time has come for the final hoorah.
If you hear what sounds like a grown man crying, it's probably just the pipes.
Pull it together, guys. This is getting awkward. The Kickin' It finale. Be here Wednesday night at 7:30.
The real, actual, and final series finale of Kickin' It is called The Grandmaster, and it premiered on March 25th, 2015. The story centers around Kim finally moving back from Japan after spending, I don't know, a year at Otai. Funny thing is, I'm pretty sure when Otai first got introduced in this show, Jack was offered like a 3 or 4 year scholarship. So I'm not entirely sure what made Kim's situation different than Jack's, but alright. When Kim comes back, she brings Grandmaster Tomo with her, the head Grandmaster of the Otai Academy. He immediately greets Rudy and says that since 2 of the best karate students he's ever seen, aka Kim and Jack, have trained under him, he would like to offer Rudy the role of Grandmaster at the Otai Academy. And Rudy immediately accepts. He doesn't even think twice about it. That brother is a bag chaser. This is kind of funny though, because I remember in an episode earlier, Rudy was geeking out over the whole waffle bar thing that's in there. And that's probably, if you think about it, the only reason he's so eager to head over there. So basically, the Grandmaster will be interviewing Jack, Kim, Milton, and Jerry to see if Rudy has what it takes to be a true Grandmaster. Rudy assures him that they will share the honest truth about how he acts, but then later runs straight to them and demands that they lie like they've never lied before. He then tells them a list of things that they are not allowed to talk about. And, oh wait, is this another clip show? Oh, you gotta be kidding me, bruh. This show has zero creativity. I messed up the line. Creativity. This show has zero creativity sometimes, I swear. For those unaware, season 2 also ended with the clip show, having Jack lose his memory and his friends try to help him remind him who he is. And so this episode basically follows suit. The Grandmaster interviews each individual student and asks about Rudy's best qualities. And right when they're about to give an answer, we see flashbacks that would negate any positive answer. What really doesn't make much sense though is that some of these are events that the specific character in question wasn't present for, so there's really no way that they know about them. Every time a character is tempted to tell the truth, Rudy appears in front of them, telling them that he wants them to lie for him. And in case you were wondering, no, Eddie does not appear in any of those flashbacks. He does, however, appear in the promo for this episode, so that's nice. Later on, the Grandmaster makes his way into the dojo to tell Rudy his final decision, and as it turns out, he actually knew the whole time that Rudy was spying. So because of his apparent lack of trust in his students, he decides not to give the Grandmaster role to him after all, which ruins Rudy.
That's why.
Train in the secret karate techniques of
Oh, dojo, you did!
sumo, oh, and ninja. Gonna get ya. Kickin' It. Catch the action right here on Disney XD.
You get wedgied by a ninja? You don't even see it coming.
Wait a minute, this place is called the Sea Harbor Mall? I thought it was the Seaford Pier. I've been calling it that this entire time. That's kind of nuts, my fault guys. I don't know where I got Seaford Pier from. Anyway, Rudy starts genuinely tweaking that he didn't receive the job, so the gang decides to contact Grandmaster Tomo to see if he'd reconsider his stance. To help persuade him, the gang tells him positive things about Rudy, specifically how he changed all of their lives. Jack was just a skate punk, Jerry was a troublemaker, and Milton was and still is a nerd. You'd think they would use this opportunity to show positive flashbacks about Rudy, but no, they just transition into the next scene and it's kind of abrupt. I wouldn't be surprised if they originally planned to insert some scenes here, but had to cut them because of time. The Grandmaster goes up to Rudy and says that his initial thoughts about him are wrong. It's obvious that he does have what it takes to be a Grandmaster. So, he offers him the job officially, and Rudy accepts. When we go to the next scene, they actually use a Kim transition to, I guess, show that she's back with the gang, which is a really nice touch. The gang plus Phil and Joan have a Rudy roast session since he's leaving. Phil, I guess, has a really dark sense of humor, so he tells Rudy that he just hopes he dies alone. Then later, Joan gets on— oh, bars! Then later, Jones gets on stage and shoots her shot at Rudy because apparently she's liked him this entire time. And then for whatever reason, Joan, out of all people, gets a flashback sequence too. Like, what? You're like the Rudy Gobert of Kickin It characters. Nobody wants to see your highlight reel. Kim gets on stage and says that as a sensei, Rudy helped him grow from kids into the Wasabi Warriors. And then we get a flashback of some fighting scenes, and again, none of them include Eddie. Lastly, Jack hands him a belt that has all of the gang's previous belts sewn or stitched together. I don't know the right term. And after explaining what it is, Rudy is appreciative. We then cut to arguably the most frustrating part of the episode. Grandmaster gives Rudy a folder containing the profiles of all of Rudy's new students, but...
Wait, where are all the white belts? We have no white belts. You will be Grandmaster to students who are already champions.
I wonder who the new head sensei will be.
I decided to stay.
What? This man passed up on generational wealth and an unlimited supply of waffles just to stay in Seaford, California? That place ain't even real. I don't care how nostalgic. That's not even for me. I don't care how nostalgic you are. Like, move on. I have a big issue with how this show handles characters. They're allergic to characters moving on and trying new things. Season 4 undid basically everything the Season 3 finale set up, which was an ending, a real one. Kim had an ending, Jerry had an ending, Jack and Milton both had endings. Season 4 came and undid all of that, just to return everyone back to where they originally were. Twice has Rudy passed up opportunities to advance in life and get a bag, just to come back to boring old Seaford. And look, man, home is home, I get it. But my brother, you live with your mom! Grow up! Stop hanging around these teenagers! Won't most of them be in college in a couple of years anyway? This doesn't make any sense. You're gonna be sitting alone in that dojo like Will in the Fresh Prince finale. Like, ugh, this man is so unserious. Then we get some more flashbacks about friendship and stuff. Whatever, bro. I'm sick of this show. I mean it. Like, truly, come on, man. Wait! Is that whose hand I think it is? Eddie! They did it! They acknowledged him! We finally made it! You know, doing these couple of Kickin It videos has done irreparable damage to my sanity. Anyway, this is how the show ends.
All right, now line up.
Man, that is one of the sorriest endings I've ever seen in a kid's show. I know I'm supposed to be sentimental about it and stuff, like it's the end of an era or whatever, but they do not deserve it. They had a kind of rush, but still okay ending in Season 3, just to do this. Like, what are we doing? Had Jack and Milton becoming spies and stuff, just to end the show with, Wasabi! Y'all say that every episode. That ain't special. If you think about it, nobody went anywhere. Besides a little change of location, these characters are just in the same spot they were when the series started, except older and a lot less diverse. These dudes ain't even graduate, bro. Like, they're still in high school. I feel like people are forgetting about that. I get it, though. It's hard to end a series twice. But, like, you had the setup right there. My ideal ending for Kickin It would have been Rudy going to Otai, Jack becoming lead sensei with Kim sticking around to help run the dojo. But since you can't put 2 minors in charge of an entire business, you can just have Bobby Wasabi officially sign off on it. As for Milton, well, the only reason why he started taking karate lessons in the first place was to fight off the bullies that were picking on him for taking French horn lessons. But since he's a genius, there's no real reason for him to even still be in high school. So have him graduate early so he can attend Oxbridge, his dream college. Jerry's probably the hardest person to come up with an ending for, because although he did just get his black belt, I really don't see karate being in his future. So I mean, I could see him staying in the dojo to become an instructor of some sort, but I wouldn't be mad at him perhaps just staying at Phil's Bowlenberger for a little bit, and then eventually in the future, perhaps he goes back to the zoo, or maybe even doing something with dancing. I don't know. I don't care enough about Joan to give her an ending. And as much as I would love to give Eddie an ending, it's obvious the show just refuses to acknowledge him, so realistically, there's no way he'd make a last-minute cameo or anything. Other kids' sitcom finales have been able to be meaningful. Good Luck Charlie, iCarly, Sweet Life on Deck. I think Dog with a Blog had like an unnecessarily raw ending too.
I'll always love you kids, even if I can never say it again.
Stan, say something.
I'm pretty disappointed that they chose to have this as an ending because I just know that something better was available. But as corny as it is, I guess it does kind of fit the show's theme song. No matter how much I chop and punch, it's not as cool as kicking it with you. So I guess the Kickin' It crew will continue to kick it with each other for all eternity. But all of that stuff will just have to happen off camera because we have officially reached the end of Kickin' It. Okay, before I wrap up the series as a whole, let's play a quick game of Where Are They Now? Where I go through each individual lead of the show and talk about where they are now. Okay, so first of all, let's start off with Leo Howard. Post Kickin' It, Leo Howard appeared in a movie called Andron the Black Labyrinth with Alec Baldwin and Danny Glover. He also guest starred in an episode of Lab Rats and directed an episode of Gamer's Guide. He was then in a show called Why Women Kill and eventually ended up on the CW show Legacies. Get this, he actually formed his own band with Troy Romzek, the dude who played his cousin, Kai. It's called Ask Jonesy and Company. Give them a listen. They haven't released anything in like 6 years. But yeah, man, shout out Leo Howard. Still my dream casting choice for Dick Grayson, aka Nightwing. Next, we got Olivia Holt. She's probably done the best out of anyone post Kickin' It, I would imagine. She had I Didn't Do It, of course. She booked a Marvel series called Cloak and Dagger based off of the characters from the comics of the same name. Then she booked another show called Cruel Summer, which apparently doesn't have anything to do with a Taylor Swift song of the same name. She also does music, so stream if you want to. She actually has a music video where Leo Howard played her ex or something, so that's kind of funny. Yeah, I mean, she just stays busy, man. Always doing something. Good for her. Shout out to Olivia Holt. Then we have Dylan Riley Snyder. He started dating and eventually married Allison Ashley Arm from So Random, and they eventually had a little YouTube series back in the day. I don't know what it's about, but they did in fact have one. He mainly does behind the scenes stuff nowadays with his wife. Doesn't do too much in the way of acting, but yeah, shout out Dylan Riley Snyder. Outside of a guest spot of Black Lightning, where they got his name wrong, Alex Christian Jones hasn't done too much post Kickin' It. Like I said in part 1, he's mainly just living a normal life now, not doing too much in the way of acting. Shout out to Alex Christian Jones, man. Hope you're watching, Brody. Mateo Arias has mainly switched to music nowadays, where he shortened his name to simply Teo. He's collabed with some pretty big names, and his music seemed to be pretty well received. So shout out to Teo. Jason Earls has done some acting work every now and then, a lot of which is still in the Disney family, like Just Roll With It and the High School Musical series on Disney+. He's also done a little bit of directing work, most notably on this YouTube show called Welcome to Howler, which starred a bunch of Disney and Nickelodeon kids. And Matt Rife, for some reason, its main purpose was basically to ruin your childhood, I guess. So the jokes were very, some of it was kind of funny, most of it was just kind of try hard in my opinion, but it does in fact exist, so I wanted to mention it. And so yeah, that's what all the main cast of Kickin' It ended up doing post Kickin' It. Now, of course, in the day and age of shows coming back, there's always the question, will Kickin' It be one of them? No. I mean, maybe, but probably not. I feel like a lot of people don't understand that although a show like this meant a lot for a lot of kids, it really was just kind of a job for most people. I'm sure the cast and crew had a really good time making the show, but I don't think any of them particularly want to come back, especially since the stuff they're doing now is so incredibly different. Granted, some stars of shows would love to do revivals and reboots, but a lot of them are also unemployed and peak successfully at the age of 16, so that makes sense. Who knows, maybe we'll get that Kickin' It rewatch podcast where they only talk about the show for the first 10 minutes and then ramble on about hookup stories from 15 years ago that nobody asked for. Man, I hate that Ned's podcast. I also just don't see Disney bringing back any Disney XD shows, period, considering the channel is practically dying at this point. Some things are just allowed to stay in the past though. That's the only way to truly move forward. I, for one, am kind of tired of this show. I don't really need to see more of it. It's a show that started off strong, but thanks to a weird production situation, a canceled spinoff, and just overall mid-writing as the time went on, the show just became a mess. A sometimes enjoyable mess. Kickin' It at its core was a fun karate series that could be enjoyed by anyone and didn't take karate too seriously, for better or for worse. Sometimes it could be a little too over the top and sometimes it could be a little too under the top. Is that a thing? Well, it is now. With the exception of Spyfall, I think Kickin' It worked better as a kid show than a teen show. It's at its best when the kids are younger because it's fun, it's wholesome, it feels, I don't know, it just feels better, you know? I also just don't think Disney XD has the chops to pull off teen romance like Zoe 101 or iCarly, or even Big Time Rush, honestly. That's not what the channel was made for. As time went on, the show kind of lost itself, and the cast, through no fault of their own, just were not as charming because they got older. But I will always remember the show for its high moments. Those first couple of seasons held up pretty well. And honestly, even though I've already seen every episode multiple times at this point, I'm gonna miss the Wasabi Warriors. Because that group, in their prime, was something special. And at one point in time, this show was too.
No matter where life takes us, we'll always be connected by the Wasabi Code.
We swear by the light of the dragon's eye
To be loyal.
Honest.
and never say die.
Wasabi?
Wasabi! Wasabi!
When the Wasabi Warriors are together, there is no greater power.
When you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
You probably shouldn't have done that.
Boom goes the dynamite!
Never say die, Jack. I don't think I will ever forget this moment. You still got the dojo, and more importantly, each other. You guys are literally the best friends I'll ever have. And I love you guys.
Well, folks, we have reached the very end of the video, and words cannot explain how thankful I am for your support. You have no idea how much it means to me. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone on Patreon for showing support throughout the development of this retrospective. I'd like to thank Shade X and Q-Wingley. You know, I've never had to pronounce this name until now, but I'm pretty sure it's Q-Wingley for editing portions of this video. And I'd like to thank you.
Who, me?
Yes, you, for watching right now. I consider these two videos to be the season finale of what I've been building on this channel since August of 2022. I've had this video planned since my very first one, the Disney Channel Multiverse video. Expect some changes moving forward too. Maybe I'll switch up my Funko Pops, maybe I'll add a new poster to the wall, maybe I'll even have a new intro. Or maybe I won't do any of that stuff, man, I don't know. It's only my third day out here. I don't. As for the future of this channel, I got so much stuff planned. Not to sound cliche, but it's only the beginning. But until those fateful days come, my name is Mr. Nostalgia, and I'm out for now. Peace.
Corso.